Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
The sports calendar is heating up, and with ESPN Bet Sportsbook, you can go from checking news to stats to placing bets in a couple of taps. Stream games, bet live, and get exclusive offers when you link your ESPN account. Right now, you can get $100 in bonus bets when you make your first $10 wager. Download the ESPN Bet app and sign up with promo code USL to get started today. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details. Offer not available in New York.
Business owners, are your employees driving you nuts? Is money tight? Or have you just poured your heart and soul into your business and now it's time to retire and just relax? At Transworld Business Advisors, they have buyers from all over the world ready to buy your business now. Call for a confidential conversation about your business's current value. 561-203-5121. That's 561-203-5121 or visit tworld.com today.
Breaking news on ESPN 106.3 is brought to you by St. Lucie Battery and Tire.
This just in, we begin this hour with breaking news.
When news breaks, ESPN 106.3 has it covered.
We've had developments. ESPN 106.3 can now report.
When your vehicle breaks, St. Lucie Battery and Tire fixes it. Stay tuned to ESPN 106.3 for more breaking news. Brought to you by St. Lucie Battery and Tire.
Cruise the campus, explore the circuit, experience F1 Miami like never before. Your general admission ticket to the 2025 Formula One Crypto.com Miami Grand Prix is here. Immerse yourself in the action with unparalleled access to different campus zones. Enjoy thrilling activities, live entertainment, and endless food and beverage options while witnessing the race, all for less than $150 per day. Visit F1MiamiGP.com to secure your spot at the 2025 Formula One Crypto.com Miami Grand Prix.
Now, it's time for a little R&R.
All into the bucket, lays it up and in.
Ball game, Rizzo!
Live in the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios, this is Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 106.3.
This team is going to be tough when they finally get it together.
Sit back and relax. Let Russo and Rizzo take you home.
Oh, mercy!
Light him up, Colin!
Live in Sunrise, Florida on a Monday edition of Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 106.3. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Colin Russo with you, joined alongside me, Mike Rizzo, with Christian Cat helping us back at the City Play Studios in downtown West Palm Beach. We are live from Amerit Bank Arena down in Sunrise, Florida for Game 4 of the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning first round of the Stanley Cup. It's going underway, and this has been a very interesting series at that. Tampa Bay, after Florida took the first two in Tampa Bay, the Lightning really rumbled back on Saturday, despite the Panthers striking first with Tkachuk having a goal in the first period. They lost 5-1 on Saturday. Game 4 tonight on ESPN at 7 p.m. We're with you from 4 to 6 p.m. on ESPN 106.3 on your radio dial and streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter/X at ESPN 106.3. A lot went on over the weekend. A lot of good NBA action, a lot of good NHL action. And the NFL draft is now away and done with. 13 million people tuned into the first round, which is the highest rating they've had in a long time. 13 million people watched the first round of the NFL draft. If you want to talk about some of the biggest days in the sports calendar year, not even just considering the games, there's nothing to watch.
Right.
It's just teams making selections remotely. And you got Roger Goodell on a big stage in the parking lot of Lambeau Field, and you got 13 million people tuning in. That's the power of the NFL. That's the power of the NFL draft, and that is one thing that Roger Goodell has done a great job as, is commercializing and growing the actual prospect of the NFL draft. And there's a lot to break down with that. Mike's Cleveland Browns, my Jacksonville Jaguars, two notable drafts at that, and a bunch of other teams making a bunch of big moves. But one thing I got to say before we dive into the actual drafts is I was very impressed with Green Bay. Mm-hmm. Not the team. The team had a decent draft, but the actual location of the draft itself. all weekend it looked fantastic. All weekend people were into it. And it seems that's the perfect city to host the NFL draft. And I think the NFL really hit a home run with the entire weekend.
And even with kind of crummy weather, right? It's not like it was sunny. It's not like it was 65 out, not like maybe an April day that you would like in northern Wisconsin. But I with all the people there, with how it looked, I thought the NFL did a great job of the cosmetics, too, making Green Bay look. It looked like the draft was in Green Bay, and it looked like it was unique to the city of Green Bay. It was unique to the small city that is Green Bay, Wisconsin. I thought that was the best one in years. Now, I'm biased. I thought the Cleveland one was great. It was the one right after COVID. But I got to say, I think that Green Bay one has been the best one in years, and I can't wait to see what they do next year.
Well, in Pittsburgh next year, they're going to be back in Green Bay quickly.
There's a lot of fun stuff to do in Pittsburgh. I'm interested if they're going to make it on the river. I think they could lean into the Pittsburgh side of things too. Obviously, it's tough Midwestern weather, if it's Wisconsin, if it's PA, if it's Ohio. You don't know what these weekends are going to be. It could be pouring down rain in April. But I think the NFL did hit a home run with making it unique to Green Bay, and I look forward to what they do in Pittsburgh.
All right, in terms of the draft itself, the big notable surprise was, of course, Shedeur Sanders falling all the way to 144th overall, a fifth-round pick after being projected in a lot of projections to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, or top 10 even, and then all of a sudden a couple weeks out, and we hear about him falling to the 15s and the 20s. And I was one of the people that wasn't buying it. I was like, this is smoke screens. But it turns out every GM in the league had a lot. They were almost in unison on letting this guy fall. And the one thing I want to lead with, too, is I did a little bit yesterday on Sunday Huddle, but over the weekend, ESPN's coverage, and I know we're ESPN. I know we're ESPN West Palm. Great, happy, fun. We love ESPN. ESPN's coverage of the draft, and I don't mean the technicals and making sure everything's good and all that, and all on that. The personalities they had, Mel Kiper specifically, I thought was pretty disgraceful in how he handled it. Mel Kiper was awful all weekend. And I know Mel Kiper is supposed to be a vibrant personality surrounding the draft, but he was sitting there, pick after pick, and he did it in the first round when because he was a big Shedeur Sanders guy. He was the 5th overall player on his board. It was his number 1 quarterback. He loved Shedeur Sanders. It was almost like he was his father, not Dion. And he was, after every pick, after, I would say, Jackson Dart was picked in the 25th overall for the New York Giants. He was dropping. Pittsburgh let him fall. All of a sudden, the Giants went to go get Dart ahead of him. Every pick, he had to let you know, hey, why is Shedeur Sanders falling here? These NFL GMs are lost here. And then he went on a complete tirade during the 5th round of the actual coverage with him and Louis Riddick and Reese Davis, actually, on the big desk over in Green Bay. And he had Mel Kiper going on and on and on. Mel, please, good God, spare us. Yeah. And on and on about how the NFL GM has no idea how to evaluate quarterbacks, but he does. Nobody, and it's funny because he mentions Tom Brady and Kurt Warner. Tom Brady and Kurt Warner. Mel, that was 30 years ago. These are not the same general managers, the same scouting departments that Kurt Warner and Tom Brady were drafted through. You're talking about recently? Mm-hmm. How have the late first-round pick, the mid-round pick of the quarterbacks been recently? Not very good. It's been the guys in the top 10 and a whole lot of nothing outside of the Brock Purdy's of the world and the Dak Prescotts. That's really it. And Mel Kiper is sitting there, and he's lecturing the public. He's lecturing the general managers that they have no idea what they're doing with these quarterbacks. I thought it was pretty disgraceful. He was personally hurt that his personal projection of where Shedeur Sanders he thought it would land, he was wrong.
He was.
And he would never admit that.
Yep.
And it was a complete disgrace, I thought. I thought he embarrassed himself. The guy embarrassed himself on television. I was really upset with how he handled that. And I thought Reese Davis and Louis Riddick on the flip side of things handled it like pretty well-trained professionals.
I love Mel. You know that. I love Mel. That was a bad look for Mel Kiper. And I think goodbye Reese Davis, goodbye Louis Riddick. And Louis Riddick was a pro about it because he goes, Mel, I'm not the one you have to sell on it. You know what I mean?
Like, the draft spoke. That's what he said.
Yeah. He said the draft spoke. He goes, I might agree with you, but the draft spoke. And then Reese Davis kind of stepped in and said, Mel, these guys can't bat 1,000. It got a little awkward on there, but that's who Mel is, and I feel like that's why I love Mel Kiper so much. He's not allowed, or rather, he's not afraid to say it how he thinks it is. And he thought that NFL GMs and NFL teams were really punishing Shedeur for his father. What I think happened is I think NFL GMs got a little upset with how Shedeur handled himself in these meetings, how Shedeur handled himself at the Combine. He didn't necessarily participate in the Combine. He didn't do a lot during his pro day.
He didn't do the Senior Bowl. He didn't do the Shrine Bowl. He didn't do any of that.
He didn't do any of that. And then I think people had a problem with how Deion Sanders said, yeah, if they take us at 2, we might have to pull an Eli. Remember, he actually said pull an Eli. And I think teams and players kind of reminded the Sanders that, hey, we're the ones calling the shots. Now, you guys know, I tend to agree with Mel. I can't believe that he dropped in the 5th round. I can't believe that the likes of Shuck and Dylan Gabriel and these other quarterbacks got selected over him. But in the end of the day, it only matters that you got drafted. And Shedeur got drafted, and he has a chance to prove himself in a pretty weak quarterback room. So I'm excited to see what happens with Shedeur for the future. I'm excited that he's with with the team that I root for. And I do agree with you. Mel kind of made a you-know-what of himself, but I can't lie, I was laughing. It's Mel Kiper. That's what he does.
I don't know.
That's what he does.
This is different.
Kyle, this is what Kiper does.
This is not what he does. He's sitting there. I understand. He's a personality. He's there to entertain the E and ESPN. I don't even know if that's entertaining.
It is.
But the E and ESPN, that's what Mel Kiper's there to do. I get that. But Mel Kiper, you're almost taking away from the moment from the other players. You had 144th overall with Shedeur Sanders. I had about 143 picks in which Shedeur Sanders' name was brought up in between the picks.
Yeah.
143. And we're talking about him. So we're guilty too. But we're not doing the coverage of the NFL draft. I thought the way he conducted himself, that he knew all and they knew nothing, was a complete joke. A complete joke. You looked like a loser doing that. You did. Because you didn't. Unlike Louis Riddick and Reese Davis, who basically said, hey, we were wrong.
No,
we know what we know. We watch our film, but we don't get to see how they are in the actual individual meetings. We don't get to see that.
I thought Louis was brutal during the first round.
I agree, and then he recovered.
I agree.
He was sitting there saying that Shedeur was Tom Brady. Please, Louis. Jesus.
If we're gonna hold Kiper accountable, I want to say I thought Riddick was pretty unbearable. I thought both of them were unbearable. But with me, I let Mel get away with it because number one, he created all this stuff. He created the mock drafts and whatever. This is Mel Kiper's day. This is his weekend. I understand.
This is the NFL draft. This is not Mel Kiper's weekend. This is the NFL's weekend that Mel Kiper,
from a broadcasting standpoint,
happens to be a part of. No,
it's Mel. It's Mel mania.
You're here to celebrate the player. Nobody is there for Mel Kiper. Zero.
I watched that show for Mel.
No, you didn't.
I
watched it to see who was drafted.
But
I watch it for Mel Kiper.
In my defense, I could have went to NFL Network. I could have went to some other.
And I should have. I
stayed because I want Mel. I want Mel.
Mel was a complete joke over the weekend. I was really annoyed with how he handled himself. Mel, not everything is about Shedeur Sanders. Not everything is about your ability to scout quarterback. Same guy who said Jimmy Clausen was going to be a great player.
He said he would retire if he wasn't.
And he loved the Jamarcus Russell pick. So, like every other general manager in the league, Mel doesn't bat 1,000 either. And this is his whole job. He spends 364 days a year scouting the next generation of quarterbacks. He's not there to make trades, set contracts, try to win games. He's not doing that. He's there to scout quarterbacks. And then his job is not to determine where I would draft them. His job is to mock where he thinks these players will get taken. His job is to determine, all right, what is Arizona thinking in the first round? Not what I think. What is Arizona going to think? What is my prediction of what they think in the first round? That is how I'm going to organize this draft. How are the Browns going to think going into it? So he makes his mock draft based off that, and he thinks Shedeur Sanders is the best. You're allowed to think that. No problem. Nobody was expecting Shedeur Sanders to fall to the 5th round. Fine. But I don't need Mel Kiper sitting there saying that my mock draft is a better depiction of what the draft should have been than it actually was. I don't need you sitting here telling me that the NFL has no idea how to draft quarterbacks for the past 35 years.
50 years.
Mel, really? Really?
I thought it was funny.
Oh, my God. Some of these guys are complete busts. Totally understand that. You could point to the Mitch Trubisky's of the world and have a ball. But I'm sitting here where most of these guys are good players. How many great quarterbacks are there? 5? 6? In what, a 15-year period in which they were drafted? 5 or 6? All right, Mel, this is not as easy as you're making it seem to be. And you were wrong. And you're not the one interviewing Shedeur Sanders before the Combine or at the Combine, and you don't know whether he handled himself poorly. And Todd McShay from ESPN is the one who reported on day 3 of the NFL Draft that Shedeur Sanders had a meeting with Brian Daboll, the head coach of the New York Giants. And Brian Daboll, who, if you remember from the Hard Knocks back last year when they showed the offseason stuff with the Giants, had Caleb Williams in, had Jaden Daniels in, had Drake May in, had all these quarterbacks in the first round that went in the first round come in, and he did his one-on-one, or not his one-on-one, but with the coaching staff, his meeting with them. He grilled them. He said, draw me up your favorite passing play. What do you do here? What do you do there? He put him on the spot. And according to Todd McShay, who reported it on day 3 of the draft, Brian Daboll had this meeting with Shedeur Sanders and gave him a preparation packet. We're going to be doing this, that, and that, and we're going to do this, that, and the other. I'm not going to get into the specifics, but apparently Shedeur did not do well. And Brian Daboll, who's a no-nonsense guy, called him out of it. And he said, for however way he said it, he said, you're not doing this properly, or you're not getting this. We're supposed to think like this, not that. And apparently Shedeur gets offensive. All right. So all of a sudden, we're supposed to sympathize with him? If he didn't handle himself properly, and he's not that great, nobody's arguing he's that great. Nobody's arguing that. Nobody's sitting there saying he's an all-time player. But I got Mel Kiper sitting here because there's no doubt in my mind that he has some connection to the family. Based on how he was speaking, guess what? He did his draft grades. Only one team got an A+. You want to take a guess who? The Cleveland Browns. What do you think that has to do with? It was his personal affinity to Shedeur Sanders. That's the only reason. That's it. And he's sitting there lecturing us. High and mighty White Horse. And I understand he does more work than everybody. But you don't need to sit here and yell at Reese Davis and Louis Riddick, who are trying to talk you down, saying that, hey, the NFL GMs think this way. You're not any smarter than they are. If you were, you'd run a team, but you don't. Why is that? I don't know. Yeah. I'm down on Mel Kiper. I don't need the lecture to. And you know what? I don't think we'll ever have him on because of this. Mel.
I love Mel. Mel, if you're listening, I love you.
Nobody watched it for Mel. I understand Mel's a crucial piece. A crucial piece. But this is about celebrating the kid that got drafted. This is not about you. This is not about how you got the projections wrong. This is not about how Shedeur Sanders fell. And I know that's the big story, and that's why we're doing this now. But for Mel to sit there, and it was a whiny moment, and to sit there and whine that these teams don't know what they're doing because they don't want this guy on their team. Well, 32 of 32 GMs thought that way. But Mel's the only one with the inside scoop. I'm down on Mel.
There was another.
I'm down on Mel.
There was another, I guess, story that came up over the weekend. Tom Pellisario of the NFL Network reported it. It was an anonymous AFC kind of front office man who was part of the interview process with Shedeur, called it the worst interview he was ever a part of. And that he was trying to dictate the interview, dictate what happens with the team if they draft him. And it was basically a slice of humble pie for Shedeur. Like, hey, listen, Shedeur, you're not going to be able to call the shots. You're going to be a rookie when you come into the league. You're going to have a lot to prove. And I think this is kind of exactly what Sanders needed, I think, to drop to the 5th round, get a slice of humble pie.
I think this kid's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, I had a first-round grade on him. I told my bold take was that I wasn't buying this Shedeur slander, and I think he would get drafted in the top 10. Colin, he got picked in, what was it, 184, 190? 144. So, I mean, I was completely wrong on that. And unlike my buddy Mel Kiper, who I love for the record, I'm not going to sit here and say these GMs are idiots for not selecting them. That's their opinion. And I think that the NFL owners and the GMs kind of got together and we're like, hey, we're going to teach him a lesson. You know, you got Deion saying he's going to pull an Eli Manning. You got Shedeur kind of acting all high and mighty in these
meetings.
Acting
like they had leverage and they don't.
And listen, like a big part of our company with Good Karma Brands is to be humble. No matter who you are, you got to be humble. It's not just the NFL workplace, Colin. It's everywhere you go. You got to be humble. You got to be somebody who's willing to take criticism. You got to be someone that's willing to take guidance. And it seemed like Shedeur didn't do that. And I think this is exactly what he needs. I'll tell you one thing, okay? I think he's going to go to Cleveland and work his butt off. I think his dad's going to make sure of that after everything that happened. And I think the kind of player and person that he is, he's going to work his tail off.
Here's the thing. His dad is nothing. Everybody wants to keep bringing up his dad. And they want to avoid Deion. Deion coaches a college team in Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah, Deion
Have we forgotten that?
He won't be.
The guy's not going to be there on Monday mornings for meetings.
That's what I mean. I was listening to the Really Big Show in Cleveland this morning for 850 ESPN Cleveland, and people were worried that like he's going to show up to OTAs and minicamp.
God, guys.
They had Schefter on, and Schefter goes, guys, the last time I checked, Deion has a job. He has a job to do. He's not going to be breathing down
It's nothing
Shedor's
to do
neck.
with Deion. That's no reason why he
But
fell.
I think what has to do with Deion was the process and why he dropped all the bad things that, not bad
The
things,
bad things
but
has something to do with
controversial.
Shedeur. I don't think it has anything to do with Deion. But here's the one thing I'll say. This
But
leads into
the
Deion.
Eli stuff, like, remember what he said? We're going to pull in Eli. People did not like that.
You know what I don't
man.
think
They
helped?
did not
After the
like that.
Nebraska game, you had Shedeur Sanders post-game saying, how many times did Dylan Raiola
That was
get
the
touched?
worst thing. That was
How
the
many
worst
times
thing.
did Dylan Raiola get touched? Throwing his offensive line under the bus.
That's about the only thing I could get on that on Shedeur
Oh my
for.
God! So he didn't handle himself well with the media all year, and he didn't handle himself well in the in between season and draft. All right, you fell, and now you suffer. And you're right. I agree. It's spite. This was a spiteful
Spite.
drop. The NFL GMs were trying to prove something to him. He obviously has more value than that. But why do you think all these NFL GMs let him drop? Because the talent, of course, was not bigger than the circus that was attached to him. And what do I mean by a circus? What do you think the Cleveland Browns are going to do? What do you think that looks like now? And I understand it's because they got Gabriel and they got Deshaun in there and they got Flacco. They got 5 quarterbacks. I understand that. But any team that he would have went to, the circus follows. Now Cleveland is going to be chaos. Maybe this is a good thing. You know it? Because they have 5 quarterbacks. They're going to have to figure this out. But the circus automatically follows where he goes. The media frenzy will follow. They are going to be as followed as possible throughout the offseason because of him. Some teams don't want to deal with that.
No, and
Some teams do not want to deal with that.
And from what I heard, at least
That is not worth the baggage as a backup.
No,
that is not worth that.
I heard this from Adam Schefter on draft day when Shedeur got taken. You know, there was Haslam's the owner of the Browns. You know, they went out to eat with Deion. They went out to eat with Shedeur. They developed this relationship. And in my personal opinion, I think a 5th-round pick, Jimmy Haslam went up to Andrew Berry and said, take this kid. And I think Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski were obviously impaired, were very crucial when drafted Dylan Gabriel. So in a sense, I think that those two got their guy in Dylan Gabriel. And once again, Jimmy Haslam brought in a quarterback similar to Deshaun Watson. That turned out to be a nightmare. But I think Jimmy Haslam said, listen, this is a 5th-round pick.
Right.
These guys don't even make the roster half the time. Let's give Shedeur a chance. And honest to God, Kyle, if the Brownies didn't take him with their final pick, I don't know if he gets selected. I'm dead serious. I don't know. And I'm not.
Somebody probably would have taken a flyer.
But you get what I'm saying,
yeah,
though.
Yeah,
like,
who knows?
And Jimmy has a good relationship with Deion. He's got a good relationship with Shedeur.
Cowboys probably would have taken a flyer.
Probably,
eventually.
but like you know what? But at the same time, another move where Jimmy Haslam is getting his hands involved. But at the same time, I think the Browns are structured better and ready for this. I think they're ready to bring on Shedeur and this quote-unquote circus. And I don't think it's going to be a circus.
Oh, I think 5 quarterbacks?
I don't think
you think it's going to be the most structured thing you've ever watched?
I think Shedeur is going to keep his head down and play football. That's why.
Maybe.
I think he's going to. I think, like I said, a slice of humble pie, and he's going to keep his head down. He's going to play football, and he's going to try to outwork the other 4 quarterbacks in the room.
I don't even know if they're eligible for Hard Knocks. Hard Knocks.
No, they're not. Thank God. 2-3 years ago they were on.
Yeah, but isn't it a 2-year? Maybe it's a 5-year turnaround.
I'm all done. I think I told you this before. I'm all done with
Hard
Knocks.
Knocks is going to come
Can't stand
calling.
it.
I know
stand
they
it.
might say
I
no.
can't stand
Hard
it.
Knocks. Is
I
gonna
hope they
come calling.
say no.
Because
they should call the
there
police
is
if Hard Knocks
there
is
is
called.
a story attached that a lot of teams didn't
No
want to
thanks.
deal with because nobody's expecting him to start, and the fact that he's not going to start, he might be QB3, and if he's QB3 and still warrants the frenzy, I don't know if that's worth it.
I'm all good. I'm all good on the Hard Knocks, Kyle. They could go away.
Mike Rizzo, Colin Russo, live from American Bank Arena over in Sunrise, Florida for Game 4 of the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight, 7 p.m. on ESPN. We'll pick some of our favorite drafts, some of our least favorite drafts. Who made good moves, who made poor moves. We get Steve Politziner coming on a little later. We're going to do a little hockey with Jonathan Zaslow in the second hour, live from 4 to 6 p.m. right here on ESPN 106.3.
Live from the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. This is ESPN 106.3.
Kaiser University's flagship campus, the 100-acre residential campus at 2600 North Military Trail in West Palm Beach, extends Kaiser University's educational offerings to over 100 degrees within the heart of South Florida. Kaiser University also has an athletic program with 24 national championships, including the 2024 Women's Swimming and Diving Championship and Men's Lacrosse title. Visit KUSeahawks.com for the latest.
Hi, Kevin Dalton here from the Unlimited Auto Wash Clubs. Time to start getting your ride ready for summer. Stop by the Unlimited Auto Wash Clubs and try out one of our best wash packages, the Ultimate Plus. It gives you everything your car needs, inside and out, including our ceramic graphene coating. Or try one of our unlimited monthly plans, starting as low as $34.95 a month, or with inside and out plus tire shine starting as low as $49.95 a month. Visit any one of our 6 convenient locations or call 561-WASH-ME-TOO.
So, you finally have some time to yourself. Even if it is just the car ride home, it's you time. And look at you, do not disturb set before you even got in the car? Impressive. You've earned this moment to just chill and drive. This break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
The pink smoke is taking over South Florida. Listen to Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez, Sergio Busquets, and Jordi Alba and Inter Miami in their pursuit of an MLS Cup all season long right here on ESPN 106.3.
Messi, left foot, in on Guzan, tipped it up and over, it's a goal! Lionel Messi is on the board!
Listen to it all on the Deportes Radio FC app, brought to you by PNC Bank, Audi, and Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fraunrath.
Ready to take on any terrain? The all-new 2025 Defender 110 P300S is here. Built for those who crave adventure without compromising on luxury. Lease the powerful 2025 Defender 110 P300S for just $889 per month for 36 months. Whether you're tackling the toughest roads or cruising the city, the Defender is ready for it all. Don't wait. Visit Land Rover Palm Beach today and experience the Defender like never before. Terms and conditions apply. See dealer for details.
ESPN West Palm is highlighting the best performance of the week, presented by Baptist Health Orthopedic Care. Every week, a different team will be featured across ESPN 106.3 and ESPN West Palm Play. The winning performance receives $500, courtesy of Baptist Health Orthopedic Care. Do you know a team, player, or school with a killer performance? Nominate them by emailing highschool@espnwestpalm.com. Baptist Health Orthopedic Care. Go where the pros go.
Let's pull the 2-seat out, baby.
Let's get back to the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. This is Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 106.3.
Been a car accident, truck accident, suffered a slip and fall. My friends Mark Anajar and Glenn Levine at Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. They're the type to fight for you. They don't charge you unless you win. They work tirelessly to get you the maximum compensation that you deserve. Let's call it like we see it. They're the best in the business for a reason. Demand Anajar and Levine today, because that's the Anajar and Levine difference. All it takes is one phone call to take back control of your life today. Don't wait. Call for that free consultation today. That's 1-800-747-FREE. 1-800-747-3733. Take back control now with Anajar and Levine. Colin Russo, Mike Rizzo with you live on ESPN 106.3 from American Bank Arena in Sunrise, Florida for Game 4 of the Florida Panthers taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Panthers up 2-1 in the series. They won the 2 lone road games over in Tampa, and Tampa Bay rumbled back, winning Game 3 in this building on Saturday. Hopefully, Florida can take a 3-1 series lead. Got a title, a cup to defend, and I want to see them play Toronto as well. That is just my personal opinion.
Yeah, that's your...
Toronto's got some juice right now. Nobody likes Toronto because they can't win a big game, and they can't win a big series, but juice is there this year. There's something about them.
Okay.
But we roll on here. 888-760-3776. NFL draft away and done with. Mel Kiper screaming and yelling during the ESPN coverage. You had the Browns taking advantage of a 5th-round drop to Shedeur Sanders. But there's a lot of other things that happened throughout the NFL draft. Let's go back and forth a little bit, Mike.
Yeah.
Is there a draft that you particularly thought was a great draft, all things considered?
So let's get this out of the way. I thought the Browns had a really good draft. Now, Kyle, I liked Mason Graham. We talked about him on Friday at Travis Hunter's draft party. I'm still upset we didn't get that the Browns didn't get Travis Hunter. I didn't know who Carson Schlesinger was. I complained to you. I texted you, and you go, Mike, look actually who the kid is. Kyle, he's a gamer. He's a baller. And after everything,
first-team All-American.
First-team All-American, and I told you, I love the come-up story. It was just his first year starting at UCLA. He was a first team All-American, first team All-Big Ten. And watching some of his tape, he just has a nose for the ball. And the Browns haven't had an elite linebacker in a very long time. So I like that. Judkins is great. I can't tell you how many people texted me about Heron Fannin Jr., the tight end from Bowling Green. And then obviously the stock pick was Shedeur Sanders. I didn't like the Dylan Gabriel, but we both like that Dylan Sampson's kid. So I really
you got 2 running backs.
Yeah,
so now the running back room is good.
And Sampson is more of the electric back,
speeder,
breakaway speed, and Judkins is the bruiser, the AFC North back that I think is going to play well. Let's move on to my next team, though. I really like what the Patriots did, and we talked about the Patriots at the end of the season. They have a lot of money. They have a lot of cap space. They got a lot of picks. I specifically like what they did with Will Campbell. I don't care. Will Campbell, by the way, the offensive tackle for LSU. I don't care that he has small arms. That kid he's got a mean streak, and he's nasty. And I like the Will Campbell pick a lot. Trevion Henderson, I thought was the better Ohio State back. He went 2 picks after the Browns selected Judkins. I thought that was a home run. I like the Kyle Williams pick, the wide
receiver.
And listen, he's had a better year when Cam Ward, almost Heisman Trophy winner last year, when Cam Ward when Cam Ward left, he had a better year the year after. So I like what New England did. I like what the Brownies did. And I kind of like what the Steelers did, too. If I had to pick 3 teams, Kyle, those are my 3.
You like the Steelers going defense?
I do.
This has nothing to do with them drafting 2 Ohio State key players from the national championship team?
Maybe. But Jack Sawyer, Jack Sawyer in round 4 I thought was an absolute steal as well. I cannot believe he didn't go in the 3rd round. So they're going to have big Jack Sawyer and big T.J. Watt. Now, I can't promise you Sawyer's.
And they got Harmon, too, the kid from Morgan.
Yeah. So I'm not saying Sawyer's going to be started, but the rotation of those players, that Steeler defense is going to be more dangerous than ever. Really like what they did. Now, quarterback, is Will Howard going to compete for the starting job?
Yes, he's going to get an opportunity. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers, fine. But, I mean, if he's any good, and he might be.
He had and listen, you guys know I like Will. And there's a bias there. He had a horrible combine, and that's why I can't stand the combine to a fault. He went 13 for 13 in the national championship game, and we're going to judge what he did when he's nervous as hell throwing the ball to wide-open wide receivers. I understand it. It was bad. That's why he fell, but I thought the Steelers got –
flyer pick.
And listen, you're right. There's probably bias attached to it for me, but I thought they got great value in the 4th round for Sawyer and in the 6th round for a national championship winning quarterback.
We talked about it a little bit at the end part of the week, but I still really like what the Giants did. I agree with you on the Patriots side. The Patriots went all offense after spending all defense in the offseason outside of Stephon Diggs. I thought that was a good little back and forth. In terms of an offseason, they really got their bearings. And if you didn't think that Gerard Mayo getting rid of him was the wrong move, let's look back now and see where they are now comparatively to then. I think they're much better off. But continuing on with that, the Giants. The Giants got Cam Skattebo as the running back in the 4th round. I was really impressed with that. They got another defensive lineman in the 3rd round, I believe, out of Toledo. And they got Dart and Abdul Carter. If you want to talk about what the Giants have done well, they signed 2 guys in the secondary. They got a deadly defensive line, Eagles-esque. That's how good that defensive line is. They got 3 great edge rushers. They got the best interior defensive tackle in the league in Dexter Lawrence. And offensively, Dart does not need to play immediately, but there's a semblance of a plan. And Cam Skattebo, I think, will be somebody. I think he'll be a good pro. I loved him in college. Maybe he's not the type, 5'8", he's tiny, but
he'll be good.
That guy is a do-it-all player. Watch how he did it against Texas. I mean, he was unbelievable. So in the college football playoffs. So this is somebody that is a gamer. I would have drafted him.
Hang on, Skattebo, to your point, he does everything. He went over 1,000 yards rushing. He had over 500 yards receiving. And
he's a football player.
Let's not forget he threw a passing touchdown as well in the semifinal game where they should have beat Texas.
Yeah, he was great.
Let's get my God, 4th and 20 or 4th and 20 away from beating Texas. So I think that kid's a gamer. And you mentioned Darius Alexander, the defensive tackle from Toledo, similar to that kid from Marshall. And I apologize for forgetting
Mike Green.
I thought they were great value picks, and I think they fell because of this.
Their defensive line is going to be ridiculous.
I mean, they're
going to be ridiculous
with their 2 edge rushers, their 2 defensive tackles, and a couple more guys in rotation. That's going to be a scary, scary defensive line. It's going to be a good division. Maybe I'm putting the
Giants are a lot better now than they were 6 months ago.
Kyle, maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse here with the Giants, but I am buying the Giants with what they did, and maybe this is the vision that Sheen and Dable sold the owner on. Maybe this is, hey, let us do the draft, let us do free agency, and let us know what you think after. And I think John Mara, the owner, is probably doing backflips after the draft that the New York Giants just had. The only pick I don't like is Jackson Dart. Kyle, I've been down on, and listen,
I agree. I don't love him either,
he's a great
but he doesn't
kid.
need to play immediately.
I think he's a great kid, big personality, loves Star Wars. He's a nerd, for God's sakes. I should love him. But on the field, I'm looking at tape on the field. That Florida game really bothered me, and it's college, and he could get better, and he's not going to start day one. I understand all of this. I just don't know if there's a pro there. I don't know if there's a pro within the player. And granted, I'm not the best at evaluating quarterbacks with my fandom and then not seeing good quarterback play basically my whole life, but I just don't see the Jackson Dart pick panning out, and I really don't understand why they selected him.
If I'm another team of a draft that I don't love, Chicago. I don't know if I see the vision with what Chicago did.
Ben Johnson.
It's classic Ben Johnson. This is Ben Johnson.
Can I ask you something? Did Ryan Poles make a single pick? Isn't he the general manager?
They went Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan, with their 10th overall pick. And their second-round pick, they went Luther Burden, who was the Missouri wide receiver, who was invisible for the majority of the year after having an excellent season before.
He drafted Odunze in the first round last year.
Right. And maybe they needed one. Maybe they don't believe in DJ Moore if they're looking for an out on that.
My God, they signed him to a $75 million contract. I hope they do.
I see the vision. And this is a new coach. But I thought that was we want to draft offensive weapons to please our offensive-minded coach, and that was our theme. And it was not to build the best football team possible. They needed more on both lines comparatively to what's going to be available in their division.
To Poles' point, he brought in some guys in free agency on the offensive side, but I agree with you. On the defensive line,
you can't have too much. You can never have too much.
And on the defensive line, the only name that screams out to me is Montez Sweat. Sweat's like the only marquee player, I think, that's rushing the passer. And, I know the Browns pass on Hunter. I can't stand that they pass on Travis Hunter. But they bring in a guy like Mason Graham who might be able to free up Myles Garrett.
It's going to make life easier for everybody else.
With the Bears, it's very one avenue, and that avenue is Montez Sweat.
I would have addressed the defense a little further. I really would have. And this is a team that needed a lot of help all over the place. You have a rookie quarterback who is supposed to make people around him better, not the other way around. And I understand it goes both ways, but you don't need to spend 7 high-level draft picks over a 2-year period on the offensive side of the ball. You're going to need to address the defense eventually.
It's Cincinnati-esque.
I didn't love the way Chicago handled their draft.
Now, with me, I'm gonna get on in Atlanta a little bit. It's not that I didn't like the Jalen Walker pick. Now, Colin, he's a linebacker.
They got 3 defensive starters in that draft. They did get Xavier Watts from Notre Dame.
Let me finish on the Walker thing because I think he's a great player, but they're going to move him to an edge rusher. I think he's more dangerous in the middle. They're going to try to change positions. I'm never a fan of changing a guy's position. And then trading back up for James Pierce Jr., they gave up their first-round pick next year to the Rams.
Yeah.
I thought, that's a lot, man. That's a lot to go back into the first round. And listen, I get the point. Kyle, last year, Atlanta was second to last in sacks. The team that finished in last were the Patriots. They were second to last in sacks. So they're thinking
their defense was terrible.
Jalen Walker, who is a linebacker, they're going to switch him to the edge. And then they got back into the first round to select James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee, who a lot of people at one point during the college football season thought he was going to be the number 1 pick overall.
Right.
So I just hate that. I'm not in the business of giving up first-round picks, especially with what the team that I root for did, giving up their last 3 first-round picks and not having a pick for 3 years. That's how you get better. You get better through the draft and through young players. So that's why I'm going to get on Atlanta a little bit. I don't necessarily understand the hate for Cincinnati. I looked at Mel Kiper. I looked at Todd McShay from The Ringer. Both of those guys were on Cincinnati and how they felt they had a bad draft. Cincinnati went the defensive route with Shamir Stewart.
They had to.
That's
oh
what
my
I mean. So
God, they had to.
I really don't understand the slander there, but Cincinnati getting a lot of crap today for having a bad draft as well.
I can't get too into it. I don't know enough about these mid-round players, but I could judge what I see at the top capably. that you mentioned, I mentioned Chicago.
Yeah.
One thing about Atlanta, you know what was interesting? That to segue really quickly, because it was on the topic of that. I guess it's not really on the topic of that, but I think he's now the defensive coordinator of Atlanta. Is Jeff Ulbrich, who was the former Jet interim? Did you hear that it was his son who leaked the number of Shedeur Sanders to prank call him?
Is that confirmed?
And the Atlanta Falcons released a statement
that's confirmed,
saying, like this came out, he got it off like an iPad or something like that. And there are people out there on these airwaves who said that there should be a punishment to the kid or to Jeff Ulbrich, who's now the defensive coordinator of Atlanta, for allowing the number to leak.
Can I ask
the kid was a college kid.
Oh God.
He was in college. I think he goes to Ole Miss. But
so that is legit.
Yeah.
That video that I saw over the weekend was an Ole Miss kid. So I thought
it was an Ole Miss kid, and
so
it
that's
was
a
Jeff
real
Ulbrich,
thing.
who was the interim coach of the Jets, who's now the defensive coordinator of the Falcons. His son found the number, wrote it down, and then gave it to one of his buddies to do a.
It's unbelievable.
And they got people saying that they should suspend the coach for what? What are you going to suspend Jeff Ulbrich for? It was a listen. It shouldn't happen, players. You got to feel bad for them.
I mean, I feel miserable.
Guys, relax. All right, the kid, Shedeur Sanders and everybody who got prank called is going to be just fine. We don't need to go crazy.
I got to say, that was a Bush League.
Yeah, it was a college kid doing a stupid mistake. All right.
So that video that I saw was actually real of the kid that actually was.
Yes.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
That's so bad. Listen, you're going to suspect Ulbrich for something this bonehead college kid did? I agree with you.
Yeah, what are you going to burn him for?
But listen, if that kid's already off to a bad start.
No,
listen,
not good for him. And he had to release a statement.
Perfect.
He released a statement.
I'm not listening.
And the kid released a statement.
All right, if you go back to my time at Ohio University and Ohio State, I wasn't a model citizen either. Okay, I don't think any of us were in college. But all I'm saying is, my God, I wasn't prank calling NFL players.
I thought that was.
I was drinking. Kyle, I was drinking at the bar and smoking cigarettes. I wasn't prank calling college kids.
They were treating it like the kid, it was the head coach of the team. And he blatantly did this to out of malicious intent.
Yeah.
Take it easy, all right? It was a harmless prank call. You got the kids' hopes up for about 90 seconds, and then you move on with your life. Big deal.
Yep.
We got to talk to Steve Politzino, the Good Carver Brands president, the Palm Beach Sports Commission Hall of Famer, coming up on the flip side of things. We're live at Amerit Bank Arena, where we got the Florida Panthers Tampa Bay Lightning Game 4 coming up tonight, and it got me thinking about some of the best playoff atmospheres, sport-wise. I think hockey might be near the top for me. I'm going to be at the game tonight. I think hockey would be near the top, but I want to get Steve's thoughts on that. I want to get Mike's thoughts on that. We'll do that on the flip side of things. Stick around as we got Russo and Rizzo coming back to you after this time out on ESPN 106.3.
Live from the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. This is ESPN 106.3.
The playoffs are heating up, but your home shouldn't. Stay cool with EDS Air Conditioning. Right now, qualified customers can take advantage of 0% interest for 60 months on a brand new AC. Hot streaks belong in sports, not in your home. With over 800 Google reviews and a 4.8 star rating, EDS is the name you can trust since 2006. Visit EDSIsYes.com today. Game day comfort starts now. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath, proudly representing the residents of South Florida since 1985, and proud supporter of Inter Miami FC on ESPN West Palm. Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath has attorneys across South Florida ready to fight for your rights. They've recovered billions for their clients, and you won't pay anything unless you win your case. If you have been injured, call the attorneys at Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath, 561-867-4117, or online at foryourrights.com. Main office in West Palm Beach.
Hi, I'm Michael Manzo, owner and founder of Manzo's Italian Deli, and
Stop, Dad. After 20 years, people are tired of hearing your voice.
Yeah, and your lame-ass commercials.
Fresh prosciutto, mozzarella, outstanding.
Oh, please.
There's only one reason Manzo's is voted #1 deli in Palm Beach County for 20 years. our mother.
She makes sure you prepare everything from scratch using only the freshest ingredients.
Manso's Italian Deli is located on Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard, right next to Rain Dancers.
Is that a strip club?
No, it's a steakhouse. Manso's is open weekdays from 8 to 5 and offers free delivery. So stop by or call 697-9411. That's 697-9411.
We also specialize in hot and cold catering for corporate functions and special events.
Just ask anyone who was at my last birthday party.
Let's get back to the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. This is Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 106.3.
You know, the best part about the summer months coming about here is you got to get your body into shape. You got to make sure you start your days off with a win when it's going to be 80 and sunny. You want to go to the beach. What better place to do that than over at F45 downtown West Palm Beach, locations in Wellington as well. F45, more the functional side of working out. 45 minutes in and out, kind of you turn your brain off, just follow along at the screen in front of you, see what type of workouts you have in store, and then all of a sudden you get a sweat going. It's high intensity interval training. It's not like the Olympic style lifts that I was used to growing up. It's more functional. You feel better coming after it. You're flexible. You get your heart rate up, and more importantly, you feel accomplished walking out of there. They got classes in the morning and they got classes in the afternoon. You can catch me there in the mornings throughout the week over at the downtown F45 locations. And if you're interested in something like High Rocks, you want to train for something, F45 has you covered there. Get your first 3 classes for $30 today. That's F45. Find a studio near you online at F45, or go to check out their Instagram, F45 downtown West Palm Beach. Steve Pollitt Sr., the Good Karma Brands president, the Palm Beach Sports Commission Hall of Famer, joining us now. Steve, welcome into the program. How are you?
Hey guys, great to hear you. I don't see you. I know you're on remote, okay, but I'm on video in the great new world that we're all in.
Well, Steve, give me a rundown. You were at the draft over the weekend?
Yeah, I was at the draft last week. You know, Theo had me on for some reports. Apparently, I couldn't cut it for Rizzo and Russo, but I was great to be on with Theo.
What reports do you have? You don't have any. What reports? What breaking news did you supply?
At the draft. I was on the ground at the draft. I was there.
Were you in the green room? What do we want to run down?
I was pretty close. I was in the national radio broadcast in the back rooms where some awesome things happened, and I was in the theater area. I was in the inner circle area, and then also taking in all of the incredible activity that goes in outside. I've been saying that since the NFL Pro Bowl, and I know they've done a much better job, but since the NFL Pro Bowl is kind of so lame, like the draft is almost like the All-Star game feel that you get out of other sports in terms of the way they make all the hoopla around it over a couple of days.
I heard Green Bay was the best spot ever for a draft. Am I right on that? It was that good?
It was. I don't know about best spot ever. I would say it was absolutely incredible. First off, it's free. So if you chose to go up there and you were getting just all of the activations and the activities going on outside and taste testing and seeing the rings and meeting players and NFL alumni, I think they did a great job because, at the draft, there's always hope. There's always excitement. It's about the next season. There's not even pressure that you have to win. There's pressure of the pick. But I think like every fan just wins by being there and being a part of it. Even if you don't like the pick that your team made, I happen to like a lot of picks the Giants made, but even if you don't like picks that your team made, there's still hope because, they still have to get on the field and play the games.
Steve, I loved the Giants draft outside of Jackson Dart. Interested to get your thoughts on that.
I love the Giants draft, overall, and I do not position myself as like a draft expert, but to me it's always about, did you balance need with who the prognosticators say is best player available and when they will be ready. For Dart, I'm good with it as long as there is no plan to play him anytime in the first 10 weeks of the season. Other than because I don't want these desperate coaches, Dable and other, who feel or GM Joe Shane feel like we have to put him in to save our jobs. The Giants probably took care of that by having Wilson and Winston on there. So, I like that. In general, seems like the Giants had a great draft. Running back, D-line, awesome draft. But again, we're all, those first days, we're all like, yay, let's go. My draft philosophy has always been, this guy said this about him, this guy said that about him. Look what everybody said about Sanders. Nobody had him going in the 5th round. So talk to me in 2 or 3 years.
Right, I think that's a good point, is that the people involved in the draft process and the people whose job is to cover the draft process, they're just as wrong as the GMs go on some of these picks. The GMs just get fired because of it. If these guys are making their job is to analyze these players, they do it without punishment.
Right.
All of a sudden, if a general manager does the same thing and misses out on a player, then all of a sudden he loses his job. So that's why it's funny to see the kind of discrepancy. Like some of these guys, you get 1 or 2 drafts, maybe with some good picks, and then if you don't make it work, you're out, you're gone. And on the Giants side of things, the one thing I'll say is there was a semblance of a plan. It sounded like they knew what they wanted to do, trading back up to go get Jackson Dart, and it sounded like they were going to heavily lean on their all-star defensive line, which I am completely fine with if I'm a Giant fan.
Yeah, or it means that Thibodeau is hurt all the time, but between Burns, Dexter, Lawrence, the Giants' defense becomes now a top 5 defense in the NFL, and they've done a good job in the draft over the last couple of years. I don't know if they have a top 5 defensive coordinator, but they will find that out. But at least they'll have, a bit more of a puncher's chance. I mean, the defense last year was run ragged because they just had to be on the field so much because of how bad the quarterback play was. And that will be, of course, you leave any defense on the field too much, and they're going to get tired. So hopefully the improvements the Giants made there will pay off.
Steve, thoughts on Shedeur sliding to the 5th round?
Well, we all knew there was a thing. I kept saying that the thing had to do with Deion, and not that Deion was creating problems then, but it was more like the perceived problems that could happen down the road. Like when Deion wants to be in the NFL and Shedeur says, I want to go play with my dad, whether it's that team or a forced trade, people just said, nah, I don't think I want to deal with this. Mel Kiper was going crazy, right, for all of these days, because he is all about just, I'm analyzing this person on the field. I'm looking at their measurables much more than I'm looking at, the off the field interviews. But clearly what came out was that Shedeur interviewed poorly, and the reason why no one said it is because everyone else wanted everyone to take him. So nobody wanted to do anyone a favor because they wanted him to take, how it is when you're in your fantasy draft and that guy that is like maybe hurt,
somebody else's problem.
Right.
Somebody else's
problem.
problem.
Yeah, you're like, great. And that's why I think everyone was playing it, and I think that's why they were staying quiet. I also do think nobody was looking to trash the young guy. No one was looking to say he was a horrible interview, even though I'm sure he was, super offended. But we've never seen a fall like this. I was looking at a stat on the biggest falls, the biggest drops from where they were in the most of the mock drafts or the ESPN drafts. And there's all these Aaron Rodgers comparisons. Aaron Rodgers dropped from as high, I think consensus had him as the 7th pick, and he went as the 24th pick. He still went in the 1st round. We're talking days later in today's draft. We've never had anything like this. Even the comps to the later round draft picks in the NFL, none of them, Tom Brady's and otherwise, were never supposed to be to this level of the hype. That's why there's never been anything like this before, and it's going to be awesome to watch and see how it plays out.
As far as the Browns, Steve, I thought they had nothing to lose with the pick. 5th round picks damn near don't even make the team. I don't know. I thought it was pretty good value for the time.
I do. I still don't know why they didn't draft him when they drafted Dylan Gabriel, but they'll eventually have to answer that. I saw a note, and actually the Browns play-by-play a guy, Andrew Siciliano, who's a great friend, had a note on his social media that 2 quarterbacks in one draft happens more often than you think, and I think it's happened 4 times in the last 25 years. That's more than you think.
Yeah, Steve Politzino, the Good Karma Brand's president, Palm Beach Sports Commission Hall of Famer, joining us now on Russo and Rizzo, presented by Duffy Sports Grill. Steve, to segue a little bit, we're at Amerit Banks Stadium, or arena, I should say, in Sunrise, Florida, for the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Game 4 tonight, 7 p.m. on ESPN. Steve, I want to get your thoughts on big-time teams, or I guess big-time leagues that have good postseason environments. I think hockey is as good as it gets in a postseason, in the building, in the flesh environment, comparatively to football, baseball, basketball, even golf. You could even throw that in there. Where does it sort of rank for you? What's the top? What's the bottom?
I put hockey in the biggest disparity between the regular season and the postseason, difference in the vibe and the energy, because hockey, like the postseason, is different, a little more free play, even saw Ovechkin yesterday, like getting into it physically, which was so cool to see. It just doesn't happen.
Costly penalty he had.
It was, but in the long regular season, that just doesn't happen. So that's what I just think it is the biggest difference in intensity from a regular season to a postseason. We know hockey's a better sport to consume in person as well, relative to many of the others on how they play on TV. So that's why hockey to me has the biggest disparity. I don't think any of them are like bad in the postseason. I like baseball in the postseason with a little chill in the air, in markets. I like the NBA, in the postseason. The stars all play. Nobody is load management. The refs let the game go a little bit more. So all of those, I think in hockey, you have a much more anything goes style as compared to the regular season, where kind of everyone is a little more protective because of because of how long the season is.
I'm with Steve. I think that all of them are great. I think that baseball holds a special place in my heart because,
there's no clock.
Yeah, there's that. And, God, Steve, the 162, the long season, that's why you play the games. That's why you play those grindy.
You need 27 outs.
Yeah. So I really like baseball. I probably would pick baseball number 1. I'd probably go NBA 2.
In person?
Yeah, and my personal preference, boys, I've never been to an NFL playoff football game. I've been to plenty of regular season games, more than I could count, but I've never been to a playoff football game, so I can't really relate to that atmosphere. But the two that I have been to with baseball and basketball, I think a basketball arena, Steve, is one of the loudest places you'll hear if something crazy happens in a game, just because very confined, about 19 to 20,000 people at any given rate in a basketball arena. I think it could get really loud in an NBA arena.
Yeah, I think the NFL game to me is very similar. Put the Super Bowl aside. I don't think you have this, the calls are different in the postseason, the way you hear it as much in the NHL and the NBA. So it creates a different environment just by the way the game is officiated right off the bat, which to me puts those two sports have to be elevated because it's a different game in the postseason.
Steve, I give the Knicks a lot of credit winning 2 straight in Detroit to take a 3-1 series lead going back to New York here. I know you're a Knick guy. I was down on them after that Game 2 loss in Thibodeau, but in terms of somebody making some adjustments, they've really leaned into that starting lineup. Surprise, surprise. Anthony Towns has played well. Brunson's been very clutch. What has been your takeaway the past couple days from the Knicks? Is this a lot more of what you've expected, or is they sort of surpassing expectations here for you?
Well, I'm a Heat guy, as I remind you every week. But I
every week I'll ask you about the Knicks.
I root for the Knicks, of course. They're a great team that's affiliated with GKB, our company,
nice.
And and I have said before that there's no energy in a basketball playoff game like the energy at the Garden. I mean, you got to take advantage of this bailout that you got from the refs, this blatant miss.
So you have a problem with this? You have a problem with this? The non-Hardaway call at the end of the game.
I'm saying you have to take it. You have a problem with it? Yeah, it was such a missed call. It just makes the league look bad when you make and it makes it look like, they're favoring this kind of. It just opens up the conversation. And as I've heard it described different ways, refs should have. The refs had the wrong angle there to be able to see it. I know there was a scrum. I know there was a melee. And that's unfortunate because nobody should not have. I mean, there's a difference between uncontested and fouled, and Hardaway was fouled, not contested. And I think that's, a shame for the Pistons. They have a lot. They can be frustrated about that. But, it shouldn't always come down to the refs, and it shouldn't come down to that one call. You mentioned Towns. What a shot he had to put the Knicks up. Can you imagine 10 years ago, big men even taking that shot? They'd be pulled immediately. And now he's firing from 38 feet away, and as if it's just a layup. Awesome.
Steve, you said something interesting about the NBA looking bad here. One thing I got to say about that, it was a bad look because the David Guthrie, the crew chief, came out after the game and said, there should have been a foul call there. I sort of lean in person on the side of let's not get the refs involved unless it's actually imperative towards the end of the game. But one thing I'll say is if Jalen Brunson took that shot, chances are that's a foul. Now, the problem I think where the NBA looks really bad is the fact that they had the Laker-Timberwolves game right after. The Laker-Timberwolves game had a crucial play in which the T-Wolves were able to expand it to a 3-point lead after it was a slapped out of hand by LeBron to Anthony Edwards. It went off Anthony Edwards' leg out of bounds. And since it went out of bounds, the T-Wolves were able to challenge it. And the fact that they were able to challenge whether it went off of LeBron or went off of Anthony Edwards, the refs were able to look at it and determine that there was a foul on LeBron. It gave the T-Wolves 2 free throws. They were able to expand the lead to 3. It completely changed the game. And on the other side of things, the NBA... This is an NBA rule. In the Pistons game, since the ball did not go out of bounds, the Knicks or the Pistons cannot challenge the play saying, hey, there was a foul here because you can't challenge a non-call. But if you could challenge a play that went out of bounds and then they could call a foul, comparatively to not being able to challenge anything at all because it didn't go out of bounds, that's the real rule problem I have with how yesterday went. If you're going to do it, yes, be consistent. You could have a problem with the call. But I think it makes it look bad because the rules are stupid.
Yeah, 2 things. One, the rules shouldn't be different based on the time of the game. It shouldn't be you can't call that there. It's either foul or it's not a foul. That's one. But 2, the NFL you've seen has adapted. Now they tend to call the penalty to make sure that it has a chance to be reviewed. And, again, that was a miss. But the point is that the refs never even saw it. If they saw it, it was clearly a foul. And maybe they would have even had enough wherewithal to say, I'm not sure from this angle, but let me call it just to make sure it has a chance to be reviewed. One thing's for sure, that rule is going to get examined or refs are going to adjust.
Yeah, I think last 2 minutes they're going to start allowing them to challenge a non-call. Steve, tell us what's going on with Duffy's really quick.
Well, you're talking about you have the Panthers going on. You have the NBA going on. We're right in the middle of baseball season. So Duffy's Grill, once again, a great place to experience all of that. Voted the best sports grill in 2024. And no doubt, I anticipate that happening in 2025, whether it comes to the burgers, whether it comes to the wings, or it comes to the double play that starts at just $7.99 and the 2-for-1 drinks all day. Sign up for your Duffy's MVP card because your favorite game is absolutely on one of their 80 TVs. That's not 80 TVs across all the Duffys. That's 80 TVs at each Duffy's location. Visit DuffysMVP.com to learn more. At Duffy's, our game is always on.
Steve, we appreciate it as always. Our Nick fan / Sheet fan of the group. We'll talk again next week. Yeah?
Thanks, Steve.
Have fun tonight, guys.
See you, Steve. That's Steve Palatino, of course, the Good Karma Friends president and the Palm Beach Sports Commission Hall of Famer.
Heat fan.
He's a Nick fan in my book. He can't be a Giant fan, a Yankee fan, but all of a sudden decide to make the NBA Heat fan. That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, he saw 2 championships in LeBron James.
What, 10, 12 years after? What about the Knicks? What, are you going to ditch? Oh, you're right. We live down here. The Heat will win a championship. Let's ditch Cleveland. How about that?
No, thank
you.
See,
that's what I'm saying.
But I'm different. Like, as Christian says, not everything is about me and where I grew up and the fan and the stuff that I root for. Right, Christian?
Yeah, sure.
We'll talk to Christian on the flip side of things. We'll take
You're supposed to back me up there.
A quick timeout. We got to do a little 5 and 5 on the flip side. A little Jonathan Zaslow action coming up from Amarant Bank Arena.
Amarant.
Amarant Bank Arena over in Sunrise, Florida for Game 4 of the Florida Panthers-Tampa Bay Lightning. Taking a time out here right on ESPN 106.3.
In South Florida, when it's time to get back in the game, there's a name you need to know. HSS Florida. HSS ranked #1 in orthopedics for 15 years in a row by U.S. News and World Report. HSS brings world-class care to Palm Beach and Wellington. Whether it's a joint replacement, sports injury, or orthopedic trauma, HSS Florida treats athletes of all ages. Visit hss.edu/Florida to schedule your consultation today. HSS Florida, where champions and everyday people alike get the care they need to stay at the top of their game.
Attention business owners, the next several months are going to be super busy. Why not let us take some of the burden off of you? Get the help you need from Intelligent Office in Palm Beach Gardens. Professional live receptionists to answer, screen, and forward all of your calls to you live. Why do you need a virtual assistant? No high salaries, no holidays or sick pay, no call-outs, no turnover, and no additional equipment. Call 561-472-8400 or visit intelligentoffice.com to learn more how we can help you streamline your day.
Anajar and Levine.
Call 1-800-747-FREE. 1-800-747-3733.
ESPN 1063.
WESP Jupiter, a Good Karma Brands radio station.
Tired of being sidelined by a sports injury? Get back in the game with Baptist Health Orthopedic Care. Whether you're a professional athlete or even a weekend warrior, you can get back to doing what you love with our compassionate orthopedic team. Experience a new level of care and get back to your best. Welcome to being treated like a pro. Make an appointment today at baptisthealth.net/ortho or call 833-556-6764.
Mondays just got better for the men of Palm Beach County. Unlimited Auto Wash is offering $5 off any wash every Monday at all 6 convenient locations. Men's Monday at Unlimited Auto Wash. Don't miss it.
Want to accelerate your career as a manager or executive in the exciting industry of sports? Florida Atlantic University's MBA in Sport Management program is ranked #1 in Florida and 10th in the world. Students learn practical and applied skills from top faculty and experts who work in the industry. With a 94% placement rate for all grads, the full-time MBA program sets students up for success in the world of sports. Check out Florida Atlantic University's MBA in Sport Management program today by going to business.fau.edu.
Introducing the bold, the powerful, the all-new 2025 Range Rover Sport P530 Dynamic SE. A luxury SUV that commands attention with its refined design, dynamic performance, and cutting-edge technology. Lease the 2025 Range Rover Sport for just $15.29 per month for 36 months. Drive in style, power, and comfort, all for just $15.29 a month. Visit Land Rover Palm Beach today and take the new Range Rover Sport for a spin. Terms and conditions apply. See dealer for details.
Start the summer at Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium for a fun and jam-packed Memorial Day weekend. Friday, May 23rd is a Dog Day Friday at 6:30 p.m. Saturday, May 24th is Hometown Heroes Night, presented by Gordon and Partners with post-game fireworks as we honor all military members, first responders, and local heroes. Sunday, May 25th, all fans can enjoy discounted $10 tickets. Stop by the ticket office to purchase your tickets or go to RogerDeanChevroletStadium.com.
At St. Lucie Battery and Tire, batteries came before tires. We've been selling and servicing all types of batteries for over 50 years. So when you need a battery for nearly anything, we have it, as well as the fast professional installation you need. We carry premium batteries for all your needs: automotive, commercial, marine, RV, and specialty. We also offer delivery and on-site installation, serving our customers quality products for over 50 years in the home of honest, reliable service. Go to slbt.com and book your next appointment.
As market dynamics change, the quality and service you receive from your accounting firm shouldn't. Partner-owned since 1923, Anshin Accountants and Advisors take the time to get to know you and your unique circumstances to help resolve complex issues and develop innovative tax and accounting solutions tailored to meet your goals. If you're a high net worth individual or business owner eager for a strategy to maximize tax savings, let Anshin deliver value where others can't. Visit ANCHIN.com. Anshin Accountants and Advisors, recalculating what's possible. Now, it's time for a little R&R.
Ball into the bucket, lays it up and in.
Ball game, Rizzo! Live in the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios, this is Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 1063.
This team is going to be tough when they finally get it together.
Sit back and relax. Let Russo and Rizzo take you home.
Oh, mercy! Light him up, Colin!
Second hour of Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 106.3, April the 28th, 2025, from Amerant Bank Arena over
Amerant
Bank Arena over in Sunrise, Florida, for Florida Panthers, Tampa Bay Lightning, Game 4 tonight, 7 p.m. on ESPN. You just heard Christina Costanza, who is pinch hitting for Mike Rizzo while he goes find a restroom in this building. But Colin Russo
totally
with you.
lost.
We got Christian Cat helping us out back at the City Play Studios in downtown West Palm Beach. You got some good playoff hockey coming up tonight. You got some good NBA basketball coming up tonight. You got the MLB regular season going on right now. You got the NFL draft over and done with. You could be watching this stuff anyway. You might as well have a little fun with it. Sprinkle some action over on Hard Rock Bet. Go download the app today or go to hardrock.bet online to get started today. Hard Rock, it's more catered to both spectrums of sports gamblers. It's a brand new sports gambler. You could get started, or if you're the brand new or the experienced one, you want to put together an intricate parlay, you could do that together on Hard Rock Bet as well. Mike Rizzo joining us back. But go get started on Hard Rock Bet now. You get up to $100 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not hit, which can be parlay, prop, over, whatever you like to bet, any game you choose. Win that first one to get the same amount you bet back as a bonus bet. It's offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida. The wager, terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling, call 1-888-ADMIT-IT. All right, Colin Russo, Mike Rizzo, Christina Costanza, and Christian Cat. We didn't do the Tina Happy Hour
what's up?
with Theoretically Speaking, which she usually does from 3 to 4 p.m. weekdays on ESPN 106.3. Now you'll join us because you're live on site. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Do you know how to talk? You can't say any words today.
Yeah, well.
Hockey, Amerant.
You good? You done?
I'm saying it right.
Are you done?
Amerant.
Yeah.
Amerant Bank.
Yes.
Thank you, Christina. Christian Cat, our
Thanks for
producer,
having me.
helping us out at the City Play Studios. Christian, how are you?
Doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. I'm blessed to be on this show each and every day, and I thank you for offering me the privilege.
Christian's in a bad mood.
He is. He's been snappy. He's been very snappy today. Christian, if I did anything to make you upset, I'm sorry. I feel like every day it's like, all right, what did I do?
I feel like when somebody says that they're blessed to be a part of the program every day, it's just so backhanded. I think Christian's in a bad mood.
He is. I feel like.
What did you do to him?
I don't know.
What'd you do to Christian?
I don't know, man. I feel like I got to be careful. Christian's one of those people where I got to be careful because the littlest thing I do, I feel like can make Christian really upset.
He stained my door. He stained my door. Took a commemorative Boca Raton Bowl football and threw it not once but twice. The second time, the ball hit the door and stained it. And it's not a problem that you stained the door. It's a problem that you didn't clean it up. That we had to have someone else in the office come up with the Clorox wipe that I suggested you bring to the door to wipe it down. It took 1-2 swipes of the Clorox wipe, and it was clean. It's not how hard it was, it's that you didn't clean it up.
How did you stain a door with a football?
Dude, I threw the ball. It hit the top of the door because I can't throw a football.
Why are you throwing a football at a door?
Because Theo was like, hey, let's go. We started playing catch, and it accidentally hit the top.
2 throws in.
Okay, and
I was standing right there. The ball came kind of close to my head.
Upset her too. All right.
So, all right. Well, my bad.
Why'd you throw? Okay, so you threw a football at a door and you stained the door and you left it there?
I tried to, put a little elbow grease in it and some spit. That clearly made it worse. And then
you left. You're all right.
Well, we had to leave. Everyone's like, you gotta leave. And
you were.
And I forgot about it.
Mike, you were the one. We gotta go. We gotta go.
Guys, we cut it close. We got here at 3:10. Our show's at 4 o'clock. Okay, so we cut it a little close.
I got to take a nap in my car. We were here plenty of time.
Just saying. We had to get down here. We had to get down here. So, yeah, I'm always.
Christina texted me and said, "Hey, if I'm not up by the desk at 4:20, I'm sleeping in my car."
So what?
So
you're
after
just
our
pumping the AC with your car on, and you pass out.
After our first break, I ran down to her car and she woke up. She's like, "I just nodded off."
So, yeah. So
all right. Yeah, welcome to real life. Yes. We need you here. You're on the clock.
So yeah, Christian's one of those people where being myself can make him very upset, so I really have to walk on eggshells when I'm around Christian.
What sucks about that statement is that you're 100% right.
Sometimes, exactly. Sometimes, like me just being myself pisses people off, and Christian is one of those people. So I just got to be very careful.
So Mike was himself today, and therefore Christian is in a bad mood.
Like I was very clumsy. I threw the damn ball. It scratched up the door. I completely forgot about it like a moron because that's just what I do sometimes. And, yeah, it made Christian very upset. So,
all right, Christian Cat, Mike Rizzo, Colin Russo, Christina Costanza can join us for this from Amerant Bank Arena in Sunrise, Florida. Let's do a little 5 and 5 presented by Flagler Credit Union.
5 topics.
High five.
5 o'clock.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Let's get out of here.
Endless takes.
You can't handle the truth.
All gas, no brakes.
And it's shaking big time.
It's time for the 5 at 5.
Hold on to your butts.
Presented by Flagler Credit Union, proud supporter of FAU athletics. Earn up to $700 per year with boost checking from Flagler Credit Union. Number 1.
Well, it's the story everybody is talking about. Shedeur Sanders goes in the 5th round to the Cleveland Browns. My question to you, 3. Christian included. Sorry, we usually only have 2. My question to you, 3. Is Shedeur Sanders going to be a good pro? It's very simple.
I think
he's going to be a good pro.
I think he's going to start for the Cleveland Browns at some point this season. That's what I would say. I think he'll actually be a halfway decent player. And I actually think, I don't know if Cleveland's the right spot for him. I'm not sure if Cleveland's going to get the best out of him. But I do think we will see him starting at quarterback at some point this season. Christian?
No, I want to hear Tina's first.
Christina.
I agree with Colin. I actually think he'll be pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you follow the draft over the weekend?
No way.
Did you watch any part of it, any second of it?
The only part I watched was when we were at the Travis Hunter draft party on Thursday at the Boynton Beach Arts and Cultural Center.
So, T, I have something that's more up your alley with Shedeur. He made a rap song, and it's pretty good. I was listening to it all weekend.
Oh,
It's called Perfect Timing. It's called Perfect Timing.
Okay.
And Christian's very upset with me, so I'm not going to ask him to bump back to Perfect Timing from the break, but if an upset Christian Cat is listening and he wants to bump back to Perfect Timing by Shedeur Sanders so we can hear it, that'd be great. But yeah, he's a rapper as well, so I think you might like that rap.
Just what you're looking for in your starting quarterback. Let's move on.
Also
Correct.
a rapper.
Hang on. Okay, yep, number 2. Moving on here. Obviously, we're live in Amaranth Bank Arena here in beautiful Florida. Which, if I said Florida
What town?
Panthers, boys, if I said Florida Panthers, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Florida Panthers?
Yeah.
Stanley Cup, 3-1, weirdly enough.
Right.
Or the 3-0, whatever it is. Connor McDavid pops to mind. It was that Stanley Cup final last year. But now, all of a sudden, there's a little bit of pressure. This is a big game tonight. Game 4. They stole the first 2 in Tampa Bay. The last thing you want to do is give up 2 in your building. Tampa Bay on the flip side. Tampa Bay played well, 5-1 on Saturday. After Florida was the one who struck first. It was Kachuk who scored early on in the game, and all of a sudden it was all Tampa Bay from there. So when I think of them, of course I think it's Kachuk, but I think it's Stanley Cup.
Tina?
What do I think when I think for the Panthers?
Yes.
Did you go to the parade?
Hang on. Tina has a story about the Florida Panthers. So when I got hired here at ESPN West Palm Beach, during my interview process, I got brought in for an in-person interview. And during that interview, I was shown videos of Tina growling at fans.
Oh, yeah, I had to do that.
So I thought I kind of laid this up for Tina. I thought, me and fans growling during the Stanley Cup playoff
What does that
run.
mean?
No, last year at Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals, I was here with Brian McLevin-Rowitz, and I was going up to fans before the game saying, give me your best Panther growl. And I got people to growl to me, at me. I growled at some as well. It was so fun. But what I think of when I think of Florida Panthers is I think of Panthers Pulse, the song that they play every time they score a goal.
Nice, Steve.
I play that song regularly, like in my car, just on a random day.
Really?
I love it. It just gets the crowd going. It's just I love it so much.
Number 3.
Number 3.
Alrighty, the Bills GM joined a Buffalo Bills radio show. Did you see this, Kyle? So Bills GM joined the Jeremy and Joe show. This is on the WGR 550 in Buffalo. They were talking about how they needed a wide receiver, and Brandon Beane, the GM of the show, came on and basically set him straight. I think Christian has the audio. I'm too afraid to ask Christian for the audio because I didn't set him up for the audio before. But regardless, what'd you think of the GM joining a show?
Yes, I have the audio. I told you I have the audio. We'll play the audio.
Let's hear Brandon Beane on a Buffalo sports radio show after the 2 hosts went after Brandon Beane for not drafting a wide receiver. Take a listen.
Listen to the last few minutes of your show before I came on, waiting on here.
All right.
Sounds like 2018 all over with you guys.
Well, how so?
Well, you guys were bitching in 2018 about Josh Allen. You guys wanted Josh Rosen, and now you guys are bitching that we don't have a receiver. I don't get it. Like, we just hold on, let me talk. We just scored 30 points in a row for 8 straight games. A year ago, I get you guys asking why we didn't have receivers, but I don't understand it now. You just saw us lead the league in points when you add all the postseason. No one scored more points than the Buffalo Bills, including the Super Bowl champions. So you just saw us do it without Stephon Diggs, same group. How is this group not better than last year's group? Our job is to score points and win games. Where do we need to get better? Defense. We did that. So I get it. You got to have a show, and you got to have something to bitch about. But bitching about wide receiver is one of the dumbest arguments I've heard.
How many dump buttons can you possibly have in one segment? That was Brandon Beane, of course, the general manager of the Buffalo Bills on a local Buffalo sports radio show. That was feisty. And you know what? He hit all the beats. He said, listen, I know you guys need topics. I know you guys need a show, but you guys are completely wrong. And it swore up the storm. But I give him credit for at least coming on, being straight up, giving them an honest answer. If the guys wanted a wide receiver and they couldn't get one, or they didn't get one in the draft. They got Keon Coleman last year. How much can you complain? How many receivers do you need to draft year after year after year? But I guess I understand both sides. But that is funny that he brings up with the receipts of Josh Allen and Josh Rosen from the 2018 draft. Hey, one's the general manager and he's like the fourth longest tenured general manager in the National Football League. Let him do his job. I understand you're about to yell at him, but he's allowed to fight back.
Kyle, I loved every second of him joining the show other than him swearing like a sailor. I mean, my God. Right. How many B's are you going to drop in a single segment? And it seemed like he was doing it purposely, too, just to, piss them off,
Piss off the producer for dumping the button.
That's what I mean. I'm like, we know how dump buttons work. There's a delay on this. If you keep going and you keep going, one of them's getting on the air.
Right.
I think two of them at least got on the air. So I really like that he came on the show. I think it's a fun bit that he was listening. But my God, man, could you not swear so much? Are you going to pay the FCC fine?
Right. Let's move on. Number 4.
Number 4.
Kyle, Damian Lillard tears his Achilles. His 25 and 26 season is now in jeopardy. I mean, I guess the question, it's simple. Where do the Bucks go from here? What do they do?
Their only option at this point, they got no young stars. They don't have a young coach. They need to flush it all. That would be my opinion. The best way for them to get put into a decent foundation for the future is to trade Antetokounmpo. And I understand that's a top 20 player in the history of the NBA that you got in the prime of his career. But that because of that, and he's got a little control on it with the contract, you could trade him somewhere where they give up a haul. I would consider that highly, and I'd try to get some young players and some assets in the draft capital side of things and move on from there. Because Lillard's not going to be playing. You're an older team at that. Brook Lopez is going to retire, and then you got no budding young stars sitting there on the team. Your best option is to cut your losses and try to recoup what you possibly can for Giannis. That would be what I would do.
Christian, interested to get your point on this too.
Yeah, it's a shame you make that trade for Dame Lillard or to make that move for Dame Lillard, excuse me, and it just blew in your face.
The reason I ask is because I think you got to get rid of Giannis. Right. I think you get rid of Giannis and you start fresh. It stinks. It sucks. He brought you a championship, but I see that being the only solution.
Split.
It's just completely blowing this thing up, getting a couple lottery picks for years to come, and move on from there. Christian, let's do a fun story, number 5.
Number 5.
What did we do over the weekend? Very simple. I want to hear from Colin. I want to hear from C-Cat. I want to hear from Tina. Tell me about your weekend. What'd you do? What was fun?
I'll start. This is fun because I want to talk about this. I got a wetsuit in the mail on Thursday. A wetsuit.
Yeah,
yes.
And you put it on and you showed everybody in the office.
No, yeah, I put it on. And it's great because it's one of those wetsuits that you could wear in open water swimming, which is what I'm doing now with my Ironman training. And so I got to be able to swim in the inlet. So I went up to Jupiter on Saturday morning and had a lovely group that I met for the first time. And they kind of just all sitting there in their own little wetsuits. And I went up, I'm like, you guys doing the open water swimming? They're like, hell yeah. I'm like, hey, do you mind guys if I tag along? They're like, please, jump in. And that's exactly what I did. And I got to try out my wetsuit. And it's like performance-enhancing drugs if you're trying to swim. So I was a big fan of that. I took a nice picture with them. And then I went over to a Panther watch party to watch Game 3 down at Hives in Lake Worth. So I had a great weekend on especially Saturday, and had a great time hanging out with my swimming buddies on the Jupiter Inlet.
I love that for you. Yeah, you haven't stopped talking about this wetsuit that you got. I would say my favorite part of the weekend was the weather was so beautiful out. And I was at the beach both days. I took a nice 4-mile walk both days along the beach. It was amazing. I also got my hair done, so that's a plus.
How often do you need to get your hair done?
I miss that.
What do you mean you miss that?
I usually know, like, when people get a haircut or whatever. I'm upset that I didn't notice that.
Okay. It's okay. It was also on my Instagram.
Wow. I dropped the ball. Drop the ball.
I was saying get my hair
Is there
colored.
an event?
No, it just needed to get it done.
You needed to get it done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just need to get done.
Interesting.
Christian, what happened over the weekend?
Went to a dog bar and got drunk while I played golf.
Nice.
Love that.
I had Inter Miami. I was on the broadcast yesterday, and they were up 3-1, guys, and they lost 4-3. I was very upset about that. They dropped points. Now, the big one is this Wednesday. It's the CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinal, leg number 2. They're down 2-0, so in a sense, they need to win 3-0 on Wednesday. So they're saving a lot of their players for that game. But up 3-1 in the 65th minute.
Yeah, you can't blow that.
Got to find a way to get all 3 points there. And Christian, that was our 5-5.
Mike Rizzo, Colin Russo, Christina Costanza, Christian Cat from Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 106.3 live from the Merritt Bank Arena, I should say, for Game 4 of the Florida Panthers and Tampa Bay Lightning, which is going to be at 7 p.m. on ESPN. We got Jonathan Zaslow live and in person. I believe the second time we've had Mr. Zaslow join us live and in person. We'll have him and break down a little hockey, a little bit of NFL draft, a little NBA. Coming up on the flip side of things, stick around for it on ESPN 106.3.
Live from the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. This is ESPN 106.3.
While it's not always possible to see contaminated water coming out of the faucet, the taste is difficult to ignore. And what about plastics and pharmaceuticals now in the water? The team at Culligan is here to help. Culligan offers water testing and reverse osmosis systems designed to filter out those contaminants right at the source. Culligan has been helping the local community with water issues since 1936. Schedule your appointment today at Culligan.com.
Hey, Culligan man!
What's the Anajar and Levine difference? When you're injured in a car crash, we focus on your case so you can focus on the one thing that matters most. Getting better. I'm Glenn Levine with Anajar and Levine. We'll fight to get you the maximum compensation you deserve. Call our legal team right now for a free consultation. 1-800-747-FREE. We'll help you take back control of your life. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733.
In office, West Palm Beach.
The quality of our choices affects the quality of our lives. So, when it comes to how you move, do you choose to see a doctor or go to the #1 orthopedic specialist in the world, backed by a team who custom tailor your treatment? Do you choose to live with limitations or live life to the fullest by going to the place that's #1 at getting people back to what they love? Choose better, move better. Locations in West Palm Beach and Wellington. Learn more at hss.edu/Florida.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from...
We can be twinsies.
...to...
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom. Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
At Progressive, we understand the bond you have with your boat. It's why people name theirs.
I named my boat Sure Don't. Get it? The other day when my friend said, "Hey Larry, you want to head back in? It looks like it might rain." I said, "Sure don't." I guess they didn't get it because they didn't laugh.
Whatever you call your boat, protected by insuring it with Progressive, America's #1 boat insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. #1 rating based on boat market share data from ratefilings.com.
Improve your golf game fast at the all-new Kaiser University Golf Coaching Center. The Kaiser University Golf Coaching Center has the facilities, tools, and coaching you need. Enjoy the best facilities in the area with an expansive chipping and putting area, practice bunkers, a huge putting green, plus a 2,000 square foot indoor training area with 3 hitting bays, cutting-edge analysis technology, and more. The Kaiser University Golf Coaching Center in the heart of Palm Beach County off I-95 and the Turnpike. Find out more at KaiserGolfCenter.com.
For 48 straight years, Ford F-Series have been the best-selling trucks in America. We got here by engineering breakthrough technology, redefining Built Ford Tough and never settling for second best. But what's really made Ford F-Series the #1 selling trucks in America is you. Ford F-Series, built Ford tough. Based on 1977 to 2024 calendar year total sales.
Experience the thrill of Formula One in Miami from May 2nd through the 4th. For the first time, one-day grandstand tickets are available, starting at just $65. Grab a 3-day grandstand ticket and catch every moment of on-track action all weekend long. Choose your vantage point from all over the track with all the breathtaking views. Visit F1MiamiGP.com to explore grandstand options at the 2025 Formula One Crypto.com Miami Grand Prix. The race, that's an experience.
I'm only human, y'all. I'm only human, y'all. I'm only human, y'all.
Let's get back to the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. This is Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 106.3.
A playoff hockey edition live from Amerant Bank Arena, where we got some Florida Panthers Tampa Bay Lightning action. Game 4 tonight, 7 p.m. on ESPN. Colin Russo, Mike Rizzo, Christian Cat. You're welcoming in person, live in the flesh, is Mr. Jonathan Zazzo from the Zazzo Show 2.0.
My man, Zaz.
Zaz, welcome in. You're excited for some Game 4 action tonight, I assume?
Oh, come on. My team needs me. That's why I'm here tonight. My boys need me, so I came. We can't lose both games here. I'm ready to go.
And we got our Florida Panther pregame presented by Yingling coming up from 6 to 7 p.m. with the aforementioned Jonathan Zazzo right here on ESPN 106.3, so stay tuned for that. Zaz, coming into tonight's game, this has been an interesting series. You had two that started, and they kind of punched them in the face immediately, Tampa Bay, that is. And then they rumbled back, and a good win for Tampa Bay in Game 3 in this building. Now circling back here, this is an important game. You want to make sure you can kind of go back to Tampa Bay with a little bit of momentum.
Well,
what's your takeaway here?
It's funny because this is a huge game. Okay, it's the biggest game until the next game. As long as the series continues on, every game is enormous. And so where we're at right now in this series is we're in a place where if the teams didn't already hate each other, which they do, I feel like tonight it's reached a fever pitch because you got Game 2, when obviously Brandon Hagel, that piece of garbage, he takes a run at Barkov. Okay, he gets suspended. And then Game 3, you got Tkachuk. He takes a run at Gensel. So now we're kind of even in that regard. What's going to happen tonight? And then we're in a place now where the coaches are going back and forth. Because after Game 2, Paul Maurice didn't want to talk about the hit on Barkov, but then he did mention, I will say, we only hit players who have the puck. And then after the last game, John Cooper, the coach of the Lightning, he then says, we only hit players with the puck. So now you got the coaches who are going at it as well. So we could have some
Been a little petty.
So we could have some fireworks here tonight. This is going to be a heavyweight battle.
Indeed, and one thing, too, is I think about all these series now, a lot of them are getting pesky. NHL's had a very interesting first round. I think of the Montreal-Washington Capitals series, too, which is starting to get really, really pesky, especially in yesterday's game as well.
Well, that's the way all of these games are,
They play each other so much throughout the year. They play each other consistently throughout the postseason, year in and year out in the first round with how the NHL structures it. And all of a sudden, you're destined to have a little animosity. Who are you going to sue for that? That's great. That's great for hockey.
It's not like, say the NBA where, all right, in the first round, one plays 8, 2 versus 7, 3, 6. Like
the Heat, for example. That's a lifeless game.
Well, yeah.
That's a lifeless game.
Yeah, and those series should be lopsided, all right? But in the Stanley Cup playoffs, it doesn't matter. The seeds don't matter. It's a bloodbath. Every series, it's incredibly hard to win just a game in any round in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So it's no surprise what this series has been so far. It'd have been great. The Panthers got off to a great start, 1-0. Building's going crazy after Tkachuk scores. But in reality, we're nuts if we would have thought, and I'm part of the group that's nuts. We're nuts if we thought the Panthers are going to sweep the Lightning. Now, last year they beat them in 5, all right? They handled them. I expect a big-time effort from the Panthers tonight with an opportunity to close it out in Game 5 in Tampa. I think the Panthers are going to be great tonight. I think it'll be great.
Yeah, breathing room is going to be a big thing tonight. Don't give them that.
Now, Zaz, what is it, the last 5 years the Florida team has represented?
These two teams, the last 5 years.
Do you think that's going to be the case this year?
Look, you still got to win 8 more games after the team gets through this round.
But based on what we've seen in, I guess, the first round, would you give these teams the edge against the other Eastern
Well, I
Conference
think it's
teams?
enormous. Whichever team gets through this series you feel like you might have already beaten the best team in the East.
Wow.
Or the best team left in the East. And I understand Washington's Washington, okay, and huge win from the Capitals yesterday, come from behind against the Canadiens, and we got the Devils and the Canes doing their thing over there.
Hold on, you're missing one. You're missing one.
He loves Toronto. He's on Toronto.
Toronto's dominating that series.
He's on Toronto.
There's some juice about
All
Toronto.
right, but they're big-time chokers.
I understand.
Big chokers.
They bring in the new coach, and all of a sudden there's a little different life there. Watch Toronto.
All right,
here.
Austin Matthews, do something in the postseason. All right, we'll see. But it feels like this series here, I feel like whichever team comes out of it, you're going to have a lot of people picking them to win the Eastern Conference.
Zaz, the NFL draft is over the weekend. I thought Green Bay did a great job. It looked like a great event in terms of a good location, but a lot of storylines coming out of that. Of course, Giants trading up, getting Jackson Dart ahead of Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders dropping all the way to the 5th round, 144th overall. A lot of big draft storylines to follow, but let's get the big one out of the way here. Shedeur Sanders fell, and it was basically the talk of the town for those 3 days of the entire draft.
Yeah.
Sounds like there was a big disconnect between the people that study the draft prospects and the people that actually make the picks. And I think that was a testament to the mock draft people versus the people who run the teams. But what was your takeaway with Shedeur Sanders falling?
I do wonder how much of the hype going into the draft surrounding Shedeur Sanders was media-driven, meaning we paid so much attention to Colorado during the last 2 seasons. Shedeur and Dion, their lightning rods. Did we pay so much attention to them during the season, the college football season, that maybe we overvalued how good Shedeur Sanders actually is? I think there's a lot of factors that played into it, the least of which are, all right, you heard what happened with the Giants interview, and then you got other stories coming out where he may have purposely tanked some interviews because he was so confident that he was going to be a high pick that he didn't want Team X that he was in the room with to select him, or Team Y that he was then in the room with to select him. So the interviews went poorly by design, that he was tanking the interview, which is obviously a terrible strategy. And then you have him not even taking some interviews, and you have him not throwing at the combine. And added to it all, Dion saying, if a certain team picks him, which, by the way, he tweeted out a few years ago, I would never let my son go to Cleveland. And now, that tweet's out there now.
2018.
Said I would never let my kid go play in Cleveland. And now he's going to play in Cleveland. So I think there's a combination of a bunch of things. Also, not a strong arm. Tons of sacks. Holds on to the football. Actually didn't win very much in college football. So I think there's a lot that was going on there that had teams say, you know what? We'll look past the extracurricular stuff if you're projected to be Patrick Mahomes. But if we're not sure that you're going to be a superstar, I don't know, you're with trouble.
Slice of humble pie is the best way I put it for Shedeur. I think it was a big slice of humble pie. I think he's going to work his butt off. I can't promise you he's going to be good, Zaz. The NFL had him at a 5th-round pick, even though Mel Kiper and a couple others would scream to your face till you either read that he's better. But I'll take the value. As a Brown fan says, I'll take the value pick. What do you got to lose? The one I didn't understand was Dylan Gabriel.
Well, yeah, that's I don't understand it from a Browns perspective. Because what you're doing there, so you took a quarterback in round 3, and you're also taking one, which certainly it seemed very high for Dylan Gabriel, but you're taking a quarterback in round 3, and you're also taking a quarterback in round 5. It's not like you're taking 2 linebackers, or you're taking 2 guards, or you're taking 2 defensive linemen. You're literally taking 2 players there while telling yourself, we guarantee you one of these guys is not going to play for us. They're going to be a backup. And that part I don't understand. I don't understand how you're selecting a player. It wasn't a 7th-round pick, one of them. Heck, you take a guy in the 3rd round, top 100 pick, that guy should contribute right away. And then you're also taking someone in the 5th round. So whichever one it is, 3rd or 5th round, you are guaranteeing one of them is not going to contribute to your team. And that to me is weird.
The rumor, at least, around town is that Stefanski and Barry loved Gabriel, and Shedeur was Jimmy. And at the time, it was the last pick the Browns had on the board, and he looked at Andrew Barry and said, take the kid.
Well, you
heard about the dinners, as you heard about the dinner with Shedeur and Dion with the Haslams. The Haslams apparently, believe it or not, because of the tweet, I agree with you, but apparently have a good relationship with Dion and Shedeur. I don't know. I think it's more or less the Browns giving him an opportunity and kind of maybe wanting to have him avoid not getting drafted. I told Colin, I don't know if he would have got drafted. I don't know I really don't know if he would have got drafted if Cleveland didn't take him in the 5th round. Honest to God.
It's also
based off of what everyone says as the distraction, the humble pie, and you don't run the NFL. It's I don't think the owners liked it very much. I think with all that considered, I'm not sure if he even gets drafted.
I also find it weird where Andrew Berry says there, we think in the 5th round, like we think he's going to outperform his value. Well, okay, but the only way he outperforms his value is if your 3rd rounder tanks his value. That's the only way. There's no outperforming your value when you don't get on the field.
Right.
And if you think he's going to outperform his value, why'd you take Dylan Gabriel?
It says they're analytically driven.
It tells you that 2 different people made the picks.
Maybe.
One was the front office and one was ownership. That's what it tells you.
It's a 5th round pick. More often than not, those guys aren't making the roster. I feel like Jimmy looked at Andrew and that's the rumor around town. I'm not saying that it's the Bible and it's true, so don't take it like that. But the rumor is that Haslam looked at them and said, "Listen, this is our last pick. I want Shedeur."
The one thing I'll say too is if you got 5 guys there, and let's say 2 of them can be long-term starters, because you're not going to stick with Deshaun after his contract, and Kenny Pickett, let's call it like we see it. Kenny Pickett is
not the answer.
It's splitting the atom anytime soon, and you got Flacco, who's sort of your bridge. So at the very least, it's almost like you're taking many shots at the dartboard. At the very least, there might be some person here of the 4 that are going to be healthy. Somebody's got to be able to win games. And maybe that's the wrong philosophy, but maybe a throw it against the wall, see if it sticks. You can't. Maybe eventually you roll a 6.
That seems to be what they're doing.
That seems to be the takeaway.
Yeah.
And I can't knock him for that because at the end of the day, if Shedeur stinks or if Dylan Gabriel stinks, it's not like your first round draft pick. You lose a 3rd rounder, big deal. But my perspective is, at the very least, you get double the shot now.
But why have Flacco and Pickett?
Yeah, I agree. One of those guys is not going to be there. One of those guys is not going to be there.
Start one of them, and if it doesn't work out, then play the other one. Like, what's the point of having Flacco and Pickett on the team?
I would get rid of Pickett, keep Flacco, and then have the 2 in the back.
My best answer to that, Zaz, is because the owner wanted Shedeur, and I don't think the front office planned on having 2 young quarterbacks within the room, and now here we are. Someone's getting cut. One of those 2, and Flacco and Pickett's getting cut. You're not going to cut the rookies. One of those 2 is going to get cut, have it be Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco. And I lean more towards Pickett.
What a story. The whole weekend. We never see anything like it.
Right.
Which is why a lot of teams, you mentioned, the idea that these guys don't talk, these general managers, is completely lunacy. These guys all talk. So all of a sudden, if he has a bad interview here, this guy's going to...
Hey, we had a weird sit-down with Shedeur.
When they're at the combine, they're like, what was your interview like? And he's like, well, my interview stunk. Well, my interview was like this, too. All of a sudden, these guys talk.
Yeah.
No wonder he fell. Because they're all on the same page, and Mel Kiper's not in these conversations, and Louis Riddicks are not in this conversation.
And by the way, that's not the definition of collusion. That doesn't mean collusion. That just means, hey, we had a weird experience. Oh, we had a weird experience, too. Hey, what happened with yours?
Yeah, somebody tells you that they got food poisoning from this restaurant, you're not going to go there. Yeah. It's like sort of like that. Like, they're giving you bad experiences. You're going to take that as your value as well.
To that point, to Count's point on that, did you see Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski's face when
Andrew
they drafted
Berry didn't look
Sanders?
So pleased.
That's why I'm... Listen, and like they asked Barry about that in his press conference. He goes, "We don't know when the cameras are on. It's my foot, okay? You're all clapping." They didn't want
become a thing, by the way, in the draft room. Have they always done that in the draft room? Or when everybody's watching on the screen, everybody in the room's got to clap.
Well, my favorite one.
You knew who you were picking. You handed him the card.
My favorite
10 minutes ago, mind you. 10 minutes ago,
boys. My favorite zoom in on the war room is and they all start shaking hands.
They do it for TV.
You know what I mean?
For TV.
But my favorite is great picks, start shaking hands, slapping on the back. Like, that's my favorite one.
Yeah. Zaz, really quickly, tell us what's going on with Yuengling.
Oh, man, how about Yuengling? All right, it's America's oldest brewery, a proud sponsor of the Florida Panthers. Yuengling Traditional Lager, a beer that, like true legends, stands the test of time. Brewed by the same family for nearly 200 years. It's a crisp lager with a bold, smooth taste, perfect for game day, whether you're cheering from the stands or you're watching from your favorite bar, or maybe like me, you're in the Zaslow Mansion. Yuengling is the taste of tradition. Yuengling, legends stand the test of time. Must be 21 plus. Please drink responsibly.
That's Jonathan Zaslow live from Amerant Bank Arena for Game 4. Amerant Bank Arena.
Tina's going to
do. For Game 4. Everybody's not happy with me. I'm saying this wrong. For the Florida Panthers, Tampa Bay Lightning, Game 4, 7 p.m. ESPN. I will be in the building. Looking forward to that. Playoff hockey atmosphere. I don't think there's anything that compares up to that. We got to do a little temperature check with John C. Cassidy coming up as we close out the program next. It's Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 106.3.
Live from the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. This is ESPN 1063.
Did you miss Theoretically Speaking? We got C-Cat on the other side of the glass. He's got his master hat on.
I wore this one first.
No. You wore the white one.
That's not true.
As a person who has to look at you for 2 hours a day, I think I will remember what color hat you had on the day after the Masters. It was white. Tina!
For once, I'm actually going to agree with C-Cat. He wore the green hat.
Mm-hmm. Really? I will say I was wrong.
So it took Tina's eyewitness account for you to admit you're wrong, not me?
Yeah. 2 sources. I'm a journalist.
It's Theoretically Speaking, weekdays at 2, here on ESPN 1063.
Hi, this is Scott Smith of Smith, Ball, Baez, and Prather, Florida Injury Lawyers. I have said it many times before, and I will continue to say it for many years to come. There is never a good time for a car accident to occur, and most certainly never ever a good time to suffer injuries in any type of an accident. The accident and its overall aftermath will usually cause pain, difficulty, and stress. Florida law allows accident victims to recover compensation for such losses, injuries, and damages. But such recovery is often not obtained easily and can require a lengthy fight with an insurance company. If you've been injured in an accident, call us now. Don't delay. The initial consultation is completely free of charge. The sooner you call us, the sooner we can put our experienced legal team to work for you. Don't hesitate or pause for another minute. Our experience, knowledge, and resources could be working for you just minutes after the call. If you've been injured, the lawyers at Smith, Ball, Baez, and Prather will help. Call us at 500-HELP, 500-HELP. With Smith, Ball, Baez, and Prather, help is just a phone call away. Offices Palm Beach Gardens, Boca Raton, and Port St. Lucie.
Calling all sports fans, grab your MVP card and head to Duffy's where you can catch all of the action. Not an MVP? Sign up for free and start earning rewards today. Duffy's is voted the best sports grill year after year with their award-winning burgers and wings. Don't forget about Duffy's famous 2-for-1 drinks all day, every day. And with over 80 TVs in every location, you'll never miss a minute of the game. Visit Duffy'sMVP.com to learn more. Duffy's, our game is always on.
The Club at Lost Lake, a championship Fazio-designed golf course in Hope Sound. Golf and social memberships are now available with no waiting list and immediate access. The course and club will see over $10 million in capital improvements and is one of the best private club values in the area. Experience the beauty and challenge of this renowned course for yourself. Enjoy year-round access to exclusive amenities and events. Elevate your game, elevate your experience. Discover the Club at Lost Lake. Visit clublostlake.com to schedule a visit today.
I know you be hearing this and that from here and there, but
Let's get back to the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. This is Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 1063.
From ESPN 1063, live from Amerant Bank Arena for Game 4 of Tampa Bay Lightning and Florida Panthers. I'm going to be in the building alongside Christina Costanza, Mike Rizzo, Christian Cat with us on Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 1063. If you missed any of the program today, you want to listen back, go to Russo and Rizzo on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, all those great places. Time for us to go around the room a little bit. Let's decide who's hot, who's cold, who's cool under pressure, who's not. Let's do a little temperature check. Keep your cool temperature check with John C. Cassidy Air Conditioning and Plumbing.
Keep your cool. This is the Temperature Check.
Mostly sunny. Highs in the lower 80s.
Presented by John C. Cassidy Air Conditioning and Plumbing. Keeping Palm Beach County cool since 1960.
Plenty of sunshine today with seasonal temperatures. We should recharge.
All right, keep your cool temperature check with John C. Cassidy Air Conditioning and Plumbing. They've been proudly serving Palm Beach County since 1960. It's starting to get a little hotter entering the summer months here in South Florida. Make sure your air conditioning units are up to speed and up to date. You can get their highly trained technicians out there to troubleshoot. Make sure that you are up to date. Check it out, CassidyAC.com. Keep your home cool and comfortable. Speaking of cool and comfortable, we'll go around a little bit. Myself, Mike Rizzo, and Christian Cat, who has been cool under pressure. And you know what? I'll say this. Talk about keeping your cool under pressure. I'm not sure if I could count it with the draft. There's not necessarily a game, but I got to give it to the New York Giants.
Fair.
The New York Giants had a lot of pressure coming into this NFL draft. They had to look good. They had to look competent. They had to look smart. And I think coming in after the entire year, how the season went, the ups and downs, John Mara releasing a press release saying we're keeping our guys and we better win soon. The ups, the downs, the hard knocks, the whole thing. They needed something. They needed a win. And I think coming out of the draft, it was mostly a victory lap for them in terms of what they did. I got to give the Giants a little bit of credit for keeping their cool.
For a team that is keeping their cool for me are the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Lakers are done. I mean, this is 3-1. Stick a fork in them. This isn't 2016. This isn't the Cavaliers coming back against the Golden State Warriors. That was a huge win yesterday for the T-Wolves. How about Anthony?
They're down 12 in the fourth quarter.
Anthony Edwards, 43 points. And Ant, one of those players who doesn't really give a damn about the face of the league conversation. He's just trying to play basketball and be the best player he could be. Ant Edwards is someone that I really respect when it comes to the basketball court. Give me the Timberwolves keeping their cool. And I know it's technically not over. LeBron and Luka could certainly win 3 games in a row, but I tend to think if you're down 3-1 in the series, it's over. That series is over. Congrats to the Timberwolves for keeping their cool.
Christian Cat, you got one for us.
Let's go to the Lynx. The Live Golf Tour, they were in Mexico City. Waco Neiman kept his cool. He not only won his 5th individual championship at Live Golf with the win over the weekend, but in doing so, he qualifies for the U.S. Open. So you'll see him at another major this season because he is going to qualify through the Live Golf points exception.
I think I'm going to do a negative one because in terms of not keeping your cool under pressure, I think I've used them before, but I'm going to do it again because especially with how Game 3 and 4 went, and it is the Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons, and especially Cade Cunningham, God, he can't close a door.
So my double down worked? My double down worked on the Knicks?
Well, the thing is, the Pistons had every opportunity to win both games in their building. And Cade Cunningham, at the end of the game, time and time again, he's young. He doesn't really know how to operate in these playoff environments, do-or-die moments. Yep. You have to score. We need a bucket here. They were terrible down the stretch in both games. It was a clear discrepancy in experience and of course, in clutchness.
Yeah,
Brunson was clutch, Towns was clutch, and Cade Cunningham, a turnover with 1.5 minutes to go. He missed 2 jumpers in the last minute. He missed the 2 jumpers back-to-back, and Jalen Brunson had layups on the other end. It was a 5-point swing there. Oh, God, the Pistons could not close the game to save their lives, especially on Sunday.
If you're going to go with that, Kyle, I'll go with the Lakers because, I said that Minnesota was keeping their cool. The Lakers did not keep their cool. They had the ball with 9 seconds left, the chance to go up, and they lost the game. You got LeBron and Luka. You have to figure that out.
You got an Austin Reeves 3 in the corner.
You have to figure that situation out. You have to figure out a better shot from there. I got on the Denver Nuggets for not giving Jamal Murray a look. I believe, at the end of Game 2 that they lost on their home floor. If I'm going to do that, I got to do the same thing for the Lakers, who had an abysmal last shot, possibly to win the game.
Wait, they got an open look from Reeves. You got to be okay with it. I understand.
I guess I'm not.
LeBron had a terrible final minute. He missed the 3 from 27 feet to ice the game at 113, 111. He missed it. Yep. Then all of a sudden they go down the floor. Jaden McDaniels gets an and 1. All of a sudden T-Wolves up 1. You go to the other side of the floor. Luka trips. They call timeout. LeBron's taking it out. He turns it over. And then he fouls Anthony Edwards and gives them 2 free throws after the review, and then gives them 2 free throws to make it a 3-point game. LeBron had a terrible final minute. And Luka, that was the best game of his postseason.
Yeah.
Of this postseason this year for him. He had 38 points efficiently, and he was killing them. And all of a sudden they're going to Austin Reeves and Hachimura, who had a good game. But Austin Reeves and Hachimura to hit your do-or-die shots? Really? And they're playing the same 5 for the entire second half, J.J. Redick? Really?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That was our Keep Your Cool temperature check with John C. Cassidy Air Conditioning and Plumbing. It's time for us to make a little pick. So let's put together a little streak action. Let's go streaking, actually, presented by Hard Rock Bet.
Time to put your money where your mouth is.
We can't lose. We can't lose. We can't lose.
Survive and Advance is the name of the game.
That's right! We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure.
Tail the hot hand.
Continue this improbable run. 22 consecutive wins.
And fade the cooler.
Everything he touched turned to mush. He would go to the racetrack, and the teller would give him his tickets already ripped out.
Let's go streaking.
We're going streaking!
Presented by Hard Rock Bet.
All right, time for us to go streaking with Hard Rock Bet. Put together a little bit of a streak up to be. I got 3 in a row winning here. Christian, what are you at the moment?
I am on a 2-game losing streak. Apparently, the Memphis Grizzlies are not very good at basketball. I learned that the hard way last time.
Apparently. Go ahead, Mike. What are you?
I'm even.
You're even right now,
yeah,
so you're starting to put it.
I'm starting fresh again.
All right, I'm hot right now, and I'll tell you, I think the Heat are going to play with some guts tonight. Plus 8.5, the number is, weirdly enough. That's a pride game. They're not going to win the series. I think everybody knows that. But in terms of games that matter, I think that game's going to matter a whole lot to the pride of the Heat fan and the pride of the Eric Spoelstra, Pat Riley and company. I think the Heat are going to play well tonight, actually. Plus 8.5 in Game 4 in their building down in Miami, Florida. I'll take the Heat.
I'm going to be a homer. I'm going to go with the guards. They're minus 125 night at home. They got big rig. Gavin Williams on the bump. They got embarrassed. And I mean embarrassed by the Boston Red Sox over the weekend. Give me the guards at minus 125. I will say Bailey Ober, pretty good pitcher for the Twins, has played well this year. But I'm going to go with the big rig, Gavin Williams on the bump for the guards at minus 125.
Yeah, I'm going to be a homer, not with my pick, but what I'll be watching and what game that I'll be betting on. Take the over in the Yankees-Orioles game. Right now it's at 9.5. It is Sugano for the Orioles on the bump. Will Warren on the mound for the Yankees. When the Yankees go to Baltimore, they hit home runs. They brought that wall back for a reason, and they brought it back in a little bit, so I like using that left field wall for the Yankees. Take the over 9.5. Yankees O's tonight. First pitch, 6:35.
That was our Let's Go Streaking with Hard Rock Bet. Fun fact, according to Hard Rock Bet, the most bet NFL future since Thursday, sitting at plus 4,000 odds. Travis Hunter to win Offensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Are you
plus
buying
4,000.
that as a Jaguar fan?
That's good odds. I would take those odds because I think he's going to play both ways. I think he's going to play consistently both ways. And all of a sudden, he's going to be the odds-on favorite if he gets a couple interceptions, 2-3 interceptions. All of a sudden, unless somebody else has 10 sacks.
Did you watch that video I sent you on Instagram of them welcoming him into the building?
Right.
It was awesome.
Yeah. They've done a good job, and it sounds like they're going to let him play both ways. Now it's a real question. It's all about his health. Can the guy stay healthy? He's going to lean offense more than defense. If I had to predict, Liam Cohen likes the offense. I think that's the way they're going to do it. But plus 4,000 over on Hard Rock Bet. You can go get started then. That's Mike Rizzo, Colin Russo, Christian Cat from Amerant Bank Arena for the Florida Panthers.
Nice, you
Tampa
finally
Bay
got
Lightning.
it.
Game 4, 7 p.m. Stick around right here, though, on ESPN 106.3. You can hear Jonathan Zaslow doing a little Florida Panthers pregame action presented by Yingling. We're live on site in Sunrise, Florida, having a great time. It's about 80-something degrees. A beautiful South Florida day in late April. It's been Colin Russo, Mike Rizzo, Christian Cat saying so long. We'll see you tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m. right here on ESPN 106.3.
Cruise the campus, explore the circuit, experience F1 Miami like never before.